Chapter 3284. Who is the hero? What? Hearing that, the old ancestor of Tai Yi sect was shocked. He quickly looked into the distance, where many sect leaders had gathered. However, these sect leaders had just returned from a battle. Therefore, when they heard the news, they all gasped. Who is it? These sect leaders asked suspiciously. Killing the Great Devil sect's fifth demon elder was a big deal. If this news spread to the Yen state, that person would definitely be a hero. His sect's reputation would also increase greatly. This, I don't know. It seems to be the God Slayer Alliance, but I'm not sure. Those who had just returned from their adventures shook their heads in confusion. It's me. However, at this moment, a proud voice suddenly rang out. A young man walked out with his hands behind his back. He was a stage 3 sage from the Great Tang sect of Taisu. He was one of the top geniuses in this sect. Tang Mingyang? Are you serious? An old man was surprised and stared at the young man. Sect leader, it's me. The young man nodded proudly. His words made many people's expressions change drastically. Then, their eyes shone with admiration. Ha ha ha, that's great, that's great. You've done a great service in protecting the Yen state. You're indeed a disciple of the Great Tang sect of Taisu. After the old man got confirmation, he couldn't help but laugh. Then, he glanced at the other sect leaders with pride and satisfaction in his eyes. There was no doubt that if this news spread, the name of the Great Tang sect of Taisu would be spread among all the sects in the Yen state. This disciple, it's not good to lie to others in front of the Yen state. If you're found out, you'll lose face instead of fame. However, at this moment, an old voice rang out. Obviously, some sect leaders were not convinced. You're just a sage. How can you kill a demon elder? If you want to lie, you should find a good excuse. The other sect leaders were also shrewd people. They immediately felt that something was wrong. But who would have thought that the young man would laugh out loud and fearlessly say, I know that no one will believe me. Then, I will tell you the whole story. In fact, Elder Mo wasn't someone that I could kill. However, the God Slayer Alliance joined forces and severely injured Elder Mo. Elder Mo tried to escape, and at that time, I took the opportunity to deal a fatal blow to Elder Mo. Elder Mo, who was severely injured, naturally couldn't block it, so he died at my hands. The son of the demon of the God Slayer Alliance witnessed this with his own eyes. He can testify. With that said, the sect leaders opened their mouths, unable to refute. Because the young man's words did make sense. No matter how strong a dragon was, it would still be very weak when it was heavily injured. It wasn't impossible for a saint stage cultivator to kill it. This meant that this young man was indeed the hero who had killed Old Demon. Although he didn't rely on himself, this was enough to make him proud. After all, not everyone dared to face the demonic elder. This required courage. Good job, Senior Brother Tang. Grand Essence's Great Tang sect immediately erupted into cheers. People seemed to have confirmed that this young man was the hero who killed the old demon. I'm so envious. Looking at the sect leader of Grand Essence's Great Tang sect, the Tai Patriarch couldn't help but lick his lips. The redness in his eyes was undisguised. Huh, are you really the one who killed Old Demon? However, just as everyone was looking at the young man with admiration, a chuckle suddenly sounded out at an untimely moment. Then, under countless gazes, a handsome figure slowly walked over. Wuxia. Seeing that figure, the Tai Patriarch frowned. He didn't understand why Wuxia had walked out. So did everyone else. As for the young man, his expression instantly turned ugly. He shouted angrily, Senior Brother Jiang, do you know what you're saying? It's very shameful to casually slander the hero of the Yen state. Are you going to oppose me because you're jealous? Ha ha ha. Hearing that, the newcomer stopped and laughed heartily. He glanced at the crowd indifferently and said, "I've never been jealous of others. It's just that I'm an honest person and don't like people who lie. Originally, I didn't care who the hero who killed Old Demon was, as long as the Yen state was peaceful. However, I couldn't hold it in earlier. It's not to prove anything, but because I don't want everyone to be deceived like idiots." "You." The young man immediately pointed at the newcomer and was speechless for a moment. The newcomer was Wuxia, the #1 genius of the Sage realm of the Grand Essence Nebula sect. He smiled and suddenly shook his head. Forget it, forget it. As long as the Yen state is peaceful, why should I be stubborn about this false reputation? Just pretend that I didn't say those words before. I've offended you before. After saying that, he walked toward the Grand Essence Nebula sect helplessly. The Grand Essence ancestor suddenly became suspicious, and so did the other sect leaders. Finally, someone said, "Wuxia, since you've come out, you'd better make things clear. As you said, we don't want to be treated as idiots, especially by a junior. It doesn't feel good to be deceived." "But..." Wuxia hesitated. "Say it. After all, it's better to tell the truth to the world." More sect leaders opened their mouths. Alas! Wuxia suddenly let out a long sigh. He seemed very helpless, but in the end, he said, "In fact, he's not the hero who killed Old Demon. It's someone else." "What? Someone dares to hide such a big matter? Tell us the truth." Hearing that, the other people's faces suddenly changed. Wuxia looked at the young man helplessly and sighed again. "Brother, it's not that I'm against you. I was just speaking nonsense because of my feelings. But now, everyone wants to know the truth. I have no choice but to announce it." Hearing that, the young man's face turned even uglier. Because he was indeed not the hero who killed Old Demon. He just guessed that no one knew who killed Old Demon. Only the people of the God Slayer Alliance knew the whole story. That was why he came out in a fake name. But who knew that Wuxia knew who the hero was? Wuxia, who is that person? The Grand Essence ancestor could not help but ask. Alas, if I say it, people will think that I'm vain. But I can't bear to hide the truth. Forget it, forget it. I don't care what others think. I just need to be brave. Wuxia hesitated for a while and finally made a decision. I'm the one who killed Old Demon. Boom! As soon as he said that, the surroundings seemed to explode. Everyone's faces were filled with disbelief. The young man's face was full of sarcasm. Wuxia had done so much just to make a name for himself in a different way. If you say it's you, then it's you? The young man laughed heartily. However, his laughter quickly disappeared. Chapter 3285. Do you have any shame? I know you don't believe me, but can you prove it? At the same time, Wuxia said calmly, that battle was earth-shattering. I cooperated with the God Slayer Alliance and managed to severely injure Elder Mo in the end. However, Elder Mo also summoned a large number of assembled demonic beasts in an attempt to escape. At that time, the God Slayer Alliance was also greatly weakened and could only watch as Elder Mo escaped. Then, I thought of the Yen province and those who had died. Therefore, I risked my last breath to kill Elder Mo and give the Yen province an explanation. In the end, I risked my life to rush through the group of pieced demonic beasts and killed Elder Mo, who was dying and trying to escape. When Elder Mo died, all the pieced demonic beasts died. That's why I brought the pieced demonic beasts back. And this is the proof. Wuxia said word by word, his face full of righteousness. And the surroundings were dead silent. The previous young man had no proof, but Wuxia had proof. Obviously, people believed Jiang Wujia more. Cough, cough. At the same time, Jiang Wujia coughed and coughed up blood. Nephew Jiang. Uncle. Many people of the Yen state shouted worriedly. Could it be that he was injured from the collision with Elder Mo? It's okay. Although I'm a little injured, at least I have the face to face the people of the Yen state. Uncle. However, Jiang Wujia waved his hand indifferently. This made people tremble and they admired Jiang Wujia's character even more. Jiang Wujia was the real hero who killed Elder Mo. However, he did not take credit for it. If the seniors had not forced him to tell the truth, he would not have even told the truth. This kind of character was too noble. Senior brother Jiang, I was wrong. As for the young man who wanted to impersonate Jiang Wujia, he also looked guilty. Obviously, he was convinced by Jiang Wujia's character and even believed that the hero who killed Elder Mo was Jiang Wujia. The first genius in the saint realm of the Great Simplicity Nebula sect is as arrogant as the winter plum. The seniors of the various sects also praised Jiang Wujia. Some elders even pointed out to their disciples, "You should learn more from Jiang Wujia. He is talented and not weak. What's more, he has a pure heart. For the peace of the Yen state, he is willing to risk his life." If we hadn't pressured him before, I'm afraid he wouldn't have even mentioned this. Yes, we know. Many of the younger generation looked at Jiang Wujia with admiration in their eyes. But Jiang Wujia shook his head helplessly. I'm just doing my part. Without a doubt, Jiang Wujia had become the focus of attention today. After tomorrow, his name would definitely shake the Yen state. In the Great Change Nebula sect, the Great Change Ancestor, Zilong, and the others also laughed. They were very excited. No matter what, the Great Change Nebula sect had become famous today. However, a small number of people in the crowd were frowning. These people were also captured by Elder Mo a year ago, and they were the ones who fought back. If they remembered correctly, Jiang Wujia did not dare to face Elder Mo at that time. How could he be the hero who killed Elder Mo? Of course, they were not sure. After all, Elder Mo died outside his lair, and they did not witness the process. Nonsense. But at this moment, a delicate voice suddenly shouted, and the crowd fell silent. Jiang Wujia, do you have any shame? A woman suddenly walked out of the crowd. She looked at Jiang Wujia angrily, and her eyes were ready to devour him. Little Yao. Seeing this, Jiang Wujia's eyes flashed fiercely. If he had known, he would have killed her. This woman was the one who went to draw lots for Jiang Wujia a year ago, but she was later deceived by Jiang Wujia. People also looked at the woman. They did not expect that someone would oppose Jiang Wujia at this time. Jiang Wujia, you're shameless. You're despicable. You're a coward. The woman looked at Jiang Wujia coldly, as if she was going to pour out all the grievances she had suppressed in her heart. In the past year, she had thought it through. Jiang Wujia, whom she had admired and looked up to in the past, was actually a villain. She had been blind to fall in love with such a man. Little Yao, what nonsense are you talking about? Great Simplicity Patriarch frowned. Little Yao was a Sage Realm expert of Great Simplicity Nebula sect, and she was very close to Jiang Wujia in this mission. However, Little Yao publicly opposed Jiang Wujia. Was this not a disgrace to Great Simplicity Nebula sect? Sect leader, don't be fooled by him. Little Yao looked at Tai Yi Old Ancestor solemnly and said, a year ago, we were all captured by the Demon Elder. That Demon Elder is cruel and cruel. He actually created a game of death, using lots to decide the life and death of others. What? Hearing this, many people's faces changed dramatically. They did not know about this death game. Jiang Wujia's face also became very ugly. And Jiang Wujia was targeted by the old demon. He asked him to draw lots, but that coward lied to me and asked me to take his place. He then promised me that if I agreed, he would be with me forever. At that time, I was blinded, and I really did draw lots for him. However, I was lucky and did not draw the lot. However, Jiang Wuxia burned the bridge after crossing the river. All his previous promises were lies. He lied to me. He is a scumbag. Little Yao pointed at Jiang Wuxia and said with righteous indignation. Everyone gasped and turned to look at Jiang Wuxia. At this moment, Jiang Wuxia was expressionless, but the murderous intent in his eyes grew stronger. He thought that Little Yao was too abominable and could not bear to see him live a good life. This was because if Jiang Wuxia became a hero, he could have as many beautiful women as he wanted in Yen State. However, Little Yao was jealous and ruined his plans. However, the murderous intent soon disappeared. Jiang Wuxia smiled, but it was a helpless smile. Little Yao, love can't be forced. I rejected you, so I can understand your hatred for me. However, you're slandering me like this. This is too extreme. Moreover, I don't care about it personally, but I don't want you to have an inner demon because of this matter. Martial arts is the right path for a cultivator. His words were sincere and sincere. People were stunned. Especially the elders of Grand Change Nebula sect. Their eyes lit up because they knew that Little Yao liked Jiang Wuxia very much. Could it be that her love had turned into hatred? So Little Yao was slandering Jiang Wuxia? Nonsense. Hearing this, Little Yao trembled with anger. Little Yao, let me ask you a question. After Elder Mo left, did you see me again? Jiang Wuxia asked again at this moment. You coward. You had already run away. I didn't see you. Little Yao shouted angrily. Sigh. Chapter 3286. I believe you. Jiang Wuxia, you're lying. I'm not lying. If you don't believe me, did you see me after Elder Mo left? If you didn't see me, how can you be so sure? Under Jiang Wuxia's questioning, Little Yao was rendered speechless. It was a chaotic time, and her heart was dead. She was not in the mood to pay attention to Jiang Wuxia. Therefore, even if Jiang Wuxia did run away, she could not prove it. Little Yao, open your heart. In this land of the 9 continents, there are many men who are better than me. If you are still so stubborn, then why don't you follow me? I will treat you as my younger sister and find you a good husband. Seeing that Little Yao could not refute, Jiang Wuxia looked concerned. So that's how it is. Hatred born out of love? But this woman is too insidious. We were almost fooled by her. No wonder Jiang Wuxia doesn't like her. She's so shrewd. If it were me, I wouldn't like her either. Many people also started to discuss spiritedly. They looked at Little Yao with a strange gaze, as if they were looking at a shameless slut. Some women who admired Jiang Wuxia scolded her openly, "Bitch, do you think you're good enough for Jiang Wuxia? Do you have any shame? You failed in your courtship and hate because of love. You're a disgrace to us women. Get out of the Yen state." That's right, bitch. More and more insults were heard. Those voices were like knives, cutting into Little Yao's heart. Her body was trembling because she was also a woman, and she valued her reputation. But now, she had become a rat that was despised by everyone. She looked at Jiang Wuxia angrily. She did not expect Jiang Wuxia's counterattack to be so strong. She did not kill or injure her, but made it impossible for her to be human. Little Yao wanted to explain. Little Yao, right is right. Wrong is wrong. Face it bravely. However, before Little Yao could say anything, Jiang Wuxia had already walked up to her and said with concern, "I'll treat you as my sister. Come with me." His words undoubtedly made little Yao feel as if the sky was collapsing. Most importantly, she knew very well that if she left with Jiang Wuxia, her fate would be worse than death. Because Jiang Wuxia was indeed such a person. He would definitely torture her afterward. Why don't you all believe me? Little Yao had no choice but to look at the Tai patriarch and the others. However, all she got in return was a cold stare. I believe you. However, just as little Yao's heart was like dead ashes and she was about to commit suicide, an indifferent voice suddenly rang out. A couple of figures slowly walked over from the distant sky. Who else could it be other than Lin Ling at the front? Everyone looked at those people and frowned. Obviously, they didn't know these people. However, there were a few people whose eyes lit up. One of them was Wangu Wuji. Lin Ling? The Tai old ancestor frowned. Clearly, he was unhappy with Lin Ling's sudden arrival. You are. On the contrary, little Yao looked gratefully at Lin Ling and the others. Right now, only these few people believed her. This made her feel that not everyone in the vast 9 provinces was blind. I believe you. Lin Ling's voice rang out again. This time, it was resolute and decisive. He looked coldly at Jiang Wuxia. He had long been unhappy with this person. When he, Lin Ling, was framed, Jiang Wuxia did not help him at all. Instead, he righteously represented everyone and wanted to punish him. And when Jiang Wuxia deceived little Yao in Elder Mo's lair, Lin Ling was extremely displeased with this. The most despicable thing was that if these despicable people were honest, Lin Ling would not be angry. However, these despicable people had built their own reputation and deceived Yen State. Lin Ling could not tolerate this. Hero? I'll make you a coward. Young friend, do you know what you're saying? At this time, an old man looked coldly at Lin Ling. He obviously looked down on Lin Ling, who was not very famous yet. None of your business. However, Lin Ling shouted angrily. You! The old man was furious. He immediately looked at the Tai patriarch. Tai patriarch, how do you discipline your disciples? The Tai patriarch frowned. He also thought that Lin Ling was too arrogant. It's okay. Let him speak. However, Jiang Wuxia smiled and waved his hand. In his opinion, Lin Ling could not do anything. Fighting with him was like hitting a rock with an egg. Of course, if he knew that Lin Ling was the son of the demon who had fought against Elder Mo, he would not be able to remain calm. Jiang Wuxia, do you have any shame? I can vouch for the words that the young lady said earlier. Lin Ling stopped in his tracks. He looked indifferently at the crowd and spoke slowly. Who do you think you are? Do you think you have the right to speak just because you testify? If I remember correctly, you tried to humiliate and rape a few female disciples in the team. It's hard to believe someone like you. Jiang Wuxia smiled and said nonchalantly. What? Humiliate? Can we still believe the words of someone like him? The crowd's pupils constricted. They looked at Lin Ling differently. However, Lin Ling did not care. He smiled and looked at Jiang Wuxia. Bullshit. That day at the foot of the mountain, someone set me up. That's why I was regarded as a pervert. Most importantly, as a senior of the Grand Change Nebula sect, Jiang Wuxia not only failed to find out the truth, but also conspired with the villain to set me up. This proves 2 things. First, he knew about it. Second, he was incompetent. Lin Ling's voice was like a string of cannons. The sky above the mountain was silent. Huh, it's just one side of the story. Do you want me to find some witnesses? Jiang Wuxia was furious. This was the 3rd time that Lin Ling, a junior, had provoked him directly. Huahu Ichiro, Huagu, please come out and testify. Jiang Wuxia said indifferently. There's no need to shout. I've already killed those two scumbags. However, Lin Ling also spoke. His words made Jiang Wujia's pupils constrict. Lin Ling did not wait for him to speak. He continued, "It's because they are the ones who slandered me. By the way, Martial Uncle Jiang, you keep mentioning Huahui Ichiro. Could it be that you're having an affair with them?" "Nonsense. I don't know anything about that. I'm just acting according to righteousness." Jiang Wujia frowned. "Righteousness, my ass. I'll make you accept it wholeheartedly." Lin Ling smiled sarcastically. He looked at the crowd and said, "Is there anyone who can testify for me?" Everyone fell silent and looked at each other in disbelief. On the contrary, the sect leaders of the White Cloud Villa and Fire Fox Valley looked extremely cold. They almost wanted to kill Lin Ling because Lin Ling had killed Huahui Ichiro and Hua Gu. "Go ahead and shout. Is there anyone who believes you?" Jiang Wujia laughed loudly when he saw that the crowd was silent. Chapter 3287. Interrogation. "I can testify for him." "Yes." The person who stepped forward was Wangu Wuji. Everyone's eyes widened. Jiang Wujia felt as though he had swallowed a fly. "Me too." "Yes. We can all do it." "Yes." Who would have thought that Wangu Wuji was only the first person to step forward? These people were the ones who had witnessed Lin Ling killing Huahui Ichiro. To them, Lin Ling was much better than Huahui Ichiro. At the very least, he did not take all the treasures for himself. Moreover, Lin Ling had a fiery temper. If they did not help him, they would end up the same way as Huahui Ichiro. Huahui Ichiro, Hua Gu, and the others admitted it personally. We were all present. Moreover, they stole Lin Ling's treasures and were killed by Lin Ling. "Yes." One of the old men said. Although he was not strong, he was still the leader of a sect. He had the right to speak. At this moment, the crowd began to discuss animatedly. Could it be that Lin Ling was wrongly accused? Was he not a pervert? Even so, this only proves that you are not a bad person. That's all. Jiang Wujia did not expect things to turn out this way. These people had nothing to do with Lin Ling, but they were speaking up for Lin Ling. This made his heart burn with anger, but he held it in. Hee, that's all? Junior Uncle Jiang, you're dreaming. If I, Lin Ling, want to play you to death, it'll be as easy as flipping my hand. Who knew that Lin Ling would laugh lightly, and his words were even more arrogant. Lin Ling could not hold back his temper against a despicable person like Jiang Wujia. You piece of trash, scum, coward. If I don't destroy your reputation today, I, Lin Ling, will write my name backwards. Lin Ling's words were getting louder and louder. When he saw Jiang Wujia's face darken with anger, his heart was filled with joy. I'm here to prove that this lady's words are correct. However, my strength is limited, so I hope that people with principles will fight with me. In Old Mo's lair, he played us with the game of death, showing us the ugliness between people. However, it also showed us that people still have principles. At least there is a group of people who are not afraid of Old Mo, who are not afraid of death, who are courageous, who are true warriors. These people, please fight with me, just like how you fought Elder Mo. Lin Ling looked at the crowd around him and said word by word. The crowd was silent, but there were many people who were secretly clenching their fists. Because they were a group of brave warriors. I believe you. I'm not even afraid of Elder Mo, let alone others. I'll support you. Although I don't know if you participated in the battle in Old Mo's lair, based on what you said just now, I'm sure that you're also a courageous person. You definitely faced Old Mo head-on. Now, if I don't support you, who will? After a moment of silence, a heroic voice finally spoke up. At first, they were not sure if Jiang Wujia was the one who killed old Mo, so they kept silent. However, Lin Ling's words ignited their flames of war. They also knew that Lin Ling must be a comrade who had fought side by side and walked through the hands of the Grim Reaper. Therefore, they stepped forward. We can all prove that in old Mo's game of death, this lady really did draw lots for Jiang Wujia, and Jiang Wujia also deceived him. After those people stepped forward, they said in unison. Boom! As soon as they said that, everyone's hearts exploded. Countless eyes looked at Jiang Wujia, and the admiration in their eyes quietly changed. Meanwhile, little Yao knelt in the sky emotionally, her eyes filled with tears. In this world, there were still people who believed in her. In this world, there were still people who had principles. Jiang Wujia, how does it feel to fall from heaven to hell? Lin Ling laughed heartily. Looking at those people who stepped forward, he also thought of the scene where they joined forces to fight old Mo. This made his heart boil. Scum, coward, answer me. He took a step forward and looked at Jiang Wujia fearlessly. Jiang Wujia was so angry that his whole body trembled. He wanted to kill this ant on the spot. He never expected that he would lose 10% of his success to a piece of rat shit. His eyes turned red, and a murderous aura quietly swirled. What, you want to kill me? Come on. However, even though Jiang Wujia had hidden it well, Lin Ling could still sense it clearly, so he said lightly. These words shocked Jiang Wujia, and he forced himself to calm down. He smiled faintly and said, "You're right. I did lie to her back then, but I had my reasons. Because if I drew the life and death lot, how could I kill old Mo? For the sake of Yen State, I'd rather bear this infamy." Bullshit. You're still putting on an act at a time like this. Hearing that, Lin Ling couldn't help but swear again, but soon he smiled mockingly. Are you trying to say that even if you lied to that girl, you're at least the one who killed old Mo? Right? Yes, for the sake of the big picture, I can sacrifice myself. Jiang Wujia also took a step forward and confronted Lin Ling. I'm sorry, but I'm going to slap your face again. Remember, today, I, Lin Ling, am here to restrain you. Lin Ling shook his head and smiled. You said you killed old Mo. Then let me ask you, how did old Mo die, and where did he die? This. Jiang Wujia was stunned. He obviously didn't expect someone to ask him this. Looks like you didn't do enough homework. Since that's the case, I'll give you another chance. Tell me, did old Mo die in the sky or on the ground? He died in the sky. Bullshit, he died on the ground. He was killed by the son of demon in the end by the God Slayer Alliance. At that time, I'm guessing you were running away. Or maybe you were lucky. If the son of demon hadn't appeared, you would have died. I didn't. Faced with Lin Ling's forceful questioning, Jiang Wujia was obviously a little flustered. After all, he really wasn't there. Everything was just his imagination. I have to admit that you have a sharp tongue. But the facts prove everything. Let me show you, this is the evidence. However, thinking of the trump card in his hand, Jiang Wujia was still extremely forceful. He opened his hands, and those demonic beast corpses scattered in the sky. Do you see? This is the evidence that I killed old Mo. No matter what you say, it's useless. Then, Jiang Wujia's aura became stronger, as if to prove himself. He took a step forward, and an endless aura spread out. Looking at those demonic beast corpses, Lin Ling's expression changed slightly. Chapter 3288. Utterly discredited. Speak. Why aren't you speaking? In Jiang Wujia's eyes, Lin Ling's silence was a sign of guilt. What are your intentions? Why are you trying to frame me like this? I know you don't like me because your master used to be Xing Shiyun and was scolded by me when I was young. That's why you harbor hatred in your heart and target me at every turn. As your senior uncle, I've never minded your rudeness, but you've gone too far in bullying me. This time, Jiang Wuxia seemed to be in control of the situation. He began to attack Lin Ling fiercely. Speak! Following his shout, many people's eyes flickered. Although Jiang Wuxia had deceived a girl, which was somewhat shameful, Jiang Wuxia was still the hero who killed Elder Demon. There was no comparison between the two. Righteousness was more important. Young friend, what else can you prove? A senior asked. Lin Ling, Jiang Wuxia is your martial uncle. If you're unhappy with him, you can talk about it when you return to the sect. It's not right to expose his scars in front of so many people, the Tai patriarch said. Seeing that people were siding with him again, Jiang Wuxia sneered inwardly. He stared murderously at Lin Ling. It seems that you have nothing else to say. Now, as a disciple, you've slandered your elders and wronged the hero of Yen State. I wonder if you'll atone for your sins with your death. Jiang Wuxia, I really have nothing to say. Lin Ling finally smiled. But do you think that by picking up these corpses, you can prove that you killed Elder Demon? Of course. Jiang Wuxia nodded immediately. I'm sorry, but this only proves that you're a very good garbage collector. That's all. But when it comes to taking advantage of others, I'm no worse than you. Lin Ling was still smiling, but he waved his right hand. Then, an old man's corpse floated out. The corpse was headless and wore a large cloak. It looked like he had died a terrible death. Where did you find this corpse? Are you trying to say that this is the corpse of the demon elder? I, Jiang Wuxia, have been practicing martial arts since I was a child and have seen countless strange things. Now I know that what happened today is the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. Looking at the corpse, Jiang Wuxia could not help but laugh. In his opinion, was Lin Ling trying to compete with him to see who had more corpses? Lin Ling must have gone crazy. You're right, this is indeed old demon's corpse. Who knew that Lin Ling would nod his head honestly? Jiang Wuxia laughed even louder. Many people felt the same way. What a joke. If a half-saint realm junior could obtain the elder devil's corpse, then martial ancestors would be everywhere. This corpse has a very dense demonic aura. However, at this moment, someone floated towards Lin Ling and started to examine him carefully. This was because he was the warrior from the Yen state who had fought with the demon elder. He was also one of the strongest warriors present. Therefore, he was somewhat familiar with the demon elder. Oh my God, this really is the demon elder's corpse. Then, the man roared. Silence. The sky and the earth were dead silent. People were still laughing, but their laughter had become silent. The demon elder's corpse. Then, it was picked up by this half-saint stage junior? Jiang Wuxia looked as if he had been slapped hard in the face. Earlier, he had been joking with Lin Ling that it was the demon elder's corpse. Now, his joke had come true. However, the demon elder was so terrifying that even he did not dare to approach him. How could Lin Ling have obtained the corpse? Senior, are you seeing things? Jiang Wuxia asked the senior in a sharp voice. Even my master did not dare to say this to me, but you're doubting me? However, the senior's face turned cold. It seemed that he did not like being doubted. Don't tell me that I can't recognize the demon elder who fought with me for a month. The senior's voice became colder and colder. He looked directly at Jiang Wuxia so that the latter would not dare to be arrogant anymore. Jiang Wuxia, I wonder which is more powerful, your bird beasts or my headless corpse? While Jiang Wuxia was speechless, Lin Ling suddenly smiled faintly. Well, the demon elder could have turned into a bird beast. Under such circumstances, Jiang Wuxia could not find any other excuse. He could only twist the truth. After he finished speaking, he wished he could slap himself because even he didn't believe such an excuse. Of course, Jiang Wuxia was not a pushover. He shouted angrily, "Impossible. How could you kill the demon elder? Tell me, what did you do?" I really couldn't kill him." However, at that time, the God Slayer Alliance and the Demon Elder were fighting to the death. Both sides were badly injured. Finally, they saw me passing by and asked me for help. As for me, I did not lack courage, fighting spirit, and perseverance. So, I walked up to the Demon Elder and cut off his head for the peace of the Yen state. Hearing that, Lin Ling said with a smile. This was what Jiang Wuxia had said before. Lin Ling had borrowed it. Sigh, in fact, I hate vanity the most. I prefer to keep a low profile. However, I could not stand the people of the Yen state being deceived. So, under the pressure of many seniors, I had no choice but to tell the truth. Lin Ling spread his hands and said again. That look and those words were exactly the same as what Jiang Wuxia had said before. Especially that helpless look of his. Jiang Wuxia was so angry that he almost exploded. "Uncle Master Jiang, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to target you. I did it on purpose." However, just as Jiang Wuxia was about to vomit blood, Lin Ling's voice became cold again. On purpose. Lin Ling had purposely come to suppress Jiang Wuxia. "Wuxia, you." Seeing that everything had come to light, the Tai ancestor could not help but sigh softly. The way people looked at Jiang Wuxia had completely changed. Jiang Wuxia was weak and cowardly. He had deceived the girl who liked him and burned the bridge after crossing it. What was worse was that such a person had the nerve to call himself a hero and had almost deceived the entire Yen state. I didn't expect Jiang Wuxia to be this kind of person despite his outstanding talent. I actually admired him before. Pooh, what a shameless person. He's too shameless. Without any suspense, angry curses immediately sounded. The curses were even louder than the ones that had mocked little Yao. Jiang Wuxia's reputation was ruined and he was too ashamed to face anyone in the Yen state. Perhaps, it would not be long before the name of scum fell on Jiang Wuxia's head. When little Yao saw that Jiang Wuxia was in a similar situation, she cried even louder. However, her face showed the most excited smile of her life, as if her grievances had been cleared. "Uncle Master Jiang, I'm sorry." On the other hand, Lin Ling shrugged at Jiang Wuxia and strode away. "You want to play with me? To be honest, I'm afraid you won't be enough for me." Chapter 3289. Generous Rewards. Sometimes, killing a shameless villain was very satisfying, but to destroy his reputation and force him into a corner, this was even more delightful. At this moment, countless curses drifted into Jiang Wuxia's ears. He stood quietly in the sky as if he was dead. Since he was young, he had always been the center of attention. What greeted him was praise. Today, he was still the center of attention. However, what greeted him was mockery, curses, and disdain. Lin Ling. He muttered to himself, then strode away. Obviously, he didn't have the face to stay here any longer. He knew that his reputation had been completely ruined. God is watching what we do. The Tai ancestor sighed as he watched Jiang Wuxia leave. Then, he looked at Lin Ling with a complicated look in his eyes. Xing Shiyun's disciple, Lin Ling. Although he already knew that Lin Ling and the others were cultivating in the Great Change Nebula sect, he did not pay much attention to Lin Ling and the others at that time. He thought that Lin Ling and the others were on par with Xing Shiyun. However, the nameless Lin Ling and the others had started to rise to the top, and they were even able to fight Wangu Wuji to a draw. However, this was not the end of it. In the battle of Heavenly King Mountain, he killed Elder Demon and took away all the glory of his most valued disciple, Jiang Wuxia. His feelings towards Lin Ling were really complicated. There was a hint of resentment in his voice because Lin Ling had ruined Jiang Wuxia's reputation. However, he was also a little proud because Lin Ling had also made the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect famous in the Yen state. Lin Ling, right? You've made a great contribution to the Yen state. The Yen state will reward you. Furthermore, your name will spread throughout the Yen state. At this moment, the strongest old man said with a smile. Lin Ling, on the other hand, nodded his head lightly, as if he didn't care at all. His calm demeanor made people secretly admire him. Compared to Jiang Wuxia, Lin Ling was not pretentious. He really did not want to be famous. Jiang Wuxia, on the other hand, retreated in order to advance. He looked like he wanted to keep a low profile, but in reality, he wanted to be the center of attention. Of course, their guess was not wrong. Lin Ling did not want to be too famous because the more famous he was, the more dangerous it would be. It was just that he was very unhappy with Jiang Wuxia, so he took the risk to tear off his hypocritical mask. Thank you, Lin Ling. At this moment, Little Yao walked over and bowed deeply to Lin Ling. If it wasn't for Lin Ling, she wouldn't know how to live her life. Don't worry about it, it's nothing much. Lin Ling had a good impression of this woman because she was willing to gamble with her life for love, daring to love and daring to hate. It was just that she loved the wrong person. Then, everyone started to return. The trip to the Heavenly King Mountain was finally over. As for the result, ordinary people didn't know who won and who lost. Lin Ling and the rest also didn't know who got the God's treasure in the end. After returning to the Great Simplicity Nebula sect, Lin Ling and the rest returned to the West Mountain. They looked at each other and laughed. Although they didn't know who got the God's treasure in the end, they had gained a lot of benefits and their strength had increased greatly. Second brother, we can't stay here for long. Wenti and Martial God will find us sooner or later. So, when do you plan to leave? Sakura suddenly said after thinking for a while. Lin Ling's eyes suddenly flickered, but he shook his head and said, we'll find out sooner or later. If we leave now, it'll be easier for the new heavenly court to find us. So, we should try to improve our strength during this period. I agree with Lin Ling. If we leave, we can only run for our lives. We won't have time to cultivate. Although it's dangerous to stay in the Yen state, it's not a big problem in the short term. It's enough for us to improve our strength again. Meng Lu nodded. In the end, they decided to stay in the Great Simplicity Nebula sect to cultivate. Moreover, after the recent incident at the Heavenly King Mountain, Xingxiu Yun's name had returned to the Great Simplicity ancestor's heart. So, they had settled one of their worries. Lin Ling, Sakura, Meng Lu, this is the reward from the Great Simplicity ancestor for you, 90 million royal crystals. At this time, an old man walked over with a smile. He was an expert at the peak of the Sage realm. Masters Jr. He followed behind him and he looked shocked. Obviously, he knew about Lin Ling's feat at the Heavenly King Mountain. So, he was both excited and surprised. 90 million royal crystals. Lin Ling and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. That was a huge sum of money. It could be said that 10 million royal crystals could nurture one initial stage sage. 90 million royal crystals was enough to nurture 9. Of course, the sages that could be nurtured were only ordinary sages. It was obviously not enough to nurture genius-level sages. However, 90 million royal crystals was still a huge sum of money. Lin Ling, you're very impressive. You've greatly raised the prestige of the Great Simplicity Nebula sect. 60 million royal crystals were rewarded by the major sects in the Yen state. 30 million royal crystals were given to you by the Great Simplicity ancestor. He thinks highly of you. the old man said with a smile. Masters Jr. He, who was behind him, trembled when he heard that. Tears welled up in his eyes. A personal reward from the great simplicity ancestor? If senior brother Xing was here, he would probably be in tears. At this moment, Masters Jr. He seemed to be even more excited than Xing Xian. Perhaps he had been in the Great Simplicity Nebula sect for too long and had heard too many words that looked down on the Great Simplicity Nebula sect. At that time, there was nothing he could do but suppress the unwillingness in his heart. Now, the disciples of Xing Xian had done it. They had greatly raised the prestige of the Great Simplicity Nebula sect. Thank you. Compared to Masters Jr. He's excitement, Lin Ling and the other two were a little calm. Perhaps to them, this was how it should be. The Great Simplicity Ancestor asked you to cultivate patiently. If you lack anything, feel free to mention it. Moreover, the entire Great Simplicity Nebula sect is open to all of you. The old man said again. Is it possible to enter the Great Simplicity Divine Treasury as well? Masters Jr. He could not help but exclaim. His words made the old man smile and nod gently, of course. The Great Simplicity Divine Treasury was the core of the Great Simplicity Nebula sect. It recorded the cultivation techniques and deeds left behind during the deity era. Only the last disciples of the Great Simplicity Nebula sect could enter. Did that mean that the Great Simplicity Ancestor had already taken Lin Ling and the other two as his last disciples? Thinking of this, Masters Jr. He became even more excited. Alright, we'll take a look when we have time. Yes. Lin Ling nodded. After a few more polite words, the old man took his leave. After that, Masters Jr. He circled Lin Ling and the others as if he wanted to see through Lin Ling and the others. Lin Ling smiled bitterly. Masters Jr. He, please stop circling me. If you keep circling me, I'm going to get dizzy. Yes. You've done such a great thing. Moreover, your reaction is too calm. Yes. Chapter 3290. Someone come. Upon seeing this, Lin Ling and the other two looked at each other, while Xiao Yu, who was at the side, chuckled. In the following days, Lin Ling and the others continued to cultivate in a low-key manner as usual. On the contrary, Yu Rou would occasionally come, adding a touch of color to the West Mountain. Everyone in the Great Change Nebula sect knew that there were a few arrogant fellows hiding in the West Mountain. These people were very strong, but they rarely showed themselves in the Great Change Nebula sect. It seemed like they didn't care about fame and fortune. Because of this, they were worshipped by the people in the Great Change Nebula sect. The disciples of Constellation Clouds are amazing. The seniors of the Grand Change Nebula sect thought to themselves. Someone had even gone to Yu province and informed Xing Xian of this matter. There was no doubt that Xing Xian was flattered. He had left Great Change Nebula sect for so many years, but the sect had never paid any attention to him. Today, however, his senior and junior brothers came to visit him in person. Most importantly, these senior and junior brothers whom he had not seen for thousands of years were extremely courteous to him. This made Xing Xian extremely emotional, and tears began to flow out of his old eyes. When Xing Xian thought of Lin Ling and the others, a sense of pride rose in her heart. In the past, when he encountered the Eight Gods' heavenly palace in the Dragon Tomb, he had never thought that this encounter would be the best decision he had ever made in his life. Lin Ling and the others also received a reply from the Constellation Cloud. This made them happy. This was because no matter how famous they were in the Grand Change Nebula sect or the Yen state, they did not care at all. Instead, they cared about their master. At least for now, his master's infamy had been washed away. Since Lin Ling and the other two had the qualifications to enter the Great Change God Treasury, they naturally wouldn't miss out on this opportunity. They entered this martial arts treasure ground and began to comprehend it as if they were thirsting for it. This was especially true for Lin Ling. He already had a deep foundation in martial arts. On top of that, he had also gained a lot from reading the divine cultivation method. His illusionary god true inheritance had also quietly improved, reaching the level of myriad transformations. Myriad transformations was an even higher realm above 1,000 transformations. It was also known as 1,000 transformations. The strength of myriad transformations was enough to transform a realm, causing an illusion of Lin Ling to appear, making it difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. Moreover, the next realm after myriad transformations was the illusory god world. It could create another world that was even more terrifying. Senior Brother Lin Ling. Greetings, Senior Brother Lin Ling. When Lin Ling and the rest entered and exited the Great Simplicity Divine Treasury, Zilong and the rest all bowed when they saw Lin Ling and the rest. Right now, they were completely convinced by Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them and continued to cultivate in a low-key manner. Although he had obtained 90 million Emperor Crystals and shared them equally with Sakura Shi Tian and the others, and Lin Ling had taken 40 million Emperor Crystals, Lin Ling still had a feeling that these Emperor Crystals were still lacking if he wanted to open his fifth Dantian and break through to the next realm. Therefore, he still valued cultivation resources very much at the moment. On this day, Great Simplicity Nebula sect welcomed a few figures. These people were very young and had reached the initial stage of the Sage realm. Who are you? These people strode in with their heads held high, ignoring the rules of Great Simplicity Nebula sect. They directly entered, causing many people to look at them with hostility. Although Great Simplicity Nebula sect wasn't the top sect in Yen State, it was God's Legacy sect in Jojo. How could it be easy for others to enter? I'm here to look for someone. The skinny young man who led the group said flatly. Sir, do you think you can find someone just because you say so? Many people were enraged when they saw the young man turning a blind eye to them. An elder from Great Simplicity Nebula sect strode over. The aura of a sage surged out quietly, as if he wanted to teach these people a lesson. However, in the face of the expert in the later stage of the Sage realm, those people still had their hands behind their backs and were calm. When the elder's attack was about to reach them, the skinny young man who led the group said, Is there no one else in the dignified God's Legacy sect? Can you only rely on some seniors? This young man was not afraid even if the sky collapsed. Obviously, he had a different aura from ordinary people. This made the elder frown and forcibly stop his attack. Firstly, he was also frightened by the young man's indifferent attitude. Generally speaking, a person who could have such an aura must have a strong background. Secondly, this young man was right. They had come to Great Simplicity Nebula sect to look for someone. If Great Simplicity Nebula sect was not satisfied, they could let the rising stars in the sect chase them away. If they let the seniors take action, it would be a disgrace to Great Simplicity Nebula sect. I wonder who you are looking for, little friends? The elder stood still and said flatly. We are looking for 3 people. Lin Ling, Sakura, and Meng Lu. However, the thin young man hadn't even spoken when a handsome young man by his side spoke. Even though he was taller and more handsome, it was obvious that the thin young man was the leader of this group. Them. Hearing that, the elder's face changed slightly. At present, although Lin Ling and the other 2 had not been personally recognized as last disciples by Great Simplicity Old Ancestor, everyone knew that Lin Ling and the other 2 were already last disciples. However, Lin Ling and the other 2 were too arrogant. They only needed to pay a visit to the Grand Empyrean Patriarch and they would become his last disciples. However, Lin Ling and the other 2 had yet to pay a visit to the Grand Empyrean Patriarch. In any case, in Great Simplicity Nebula sect, no one dared to look down on Lin Ling and the other 2. Why are you looking for them? The elder immediately frowned and asked. Why are you talking so much nonsense? If you want to find them, just find them. I heard that Lin Ling and the other two are quite strong. Today, we are here to see them. Of course, if they don't dare to come out, we can let them go if they kowtow 3 times in front of us. The handsome young man said proudly. Feng Yun. However, the skinny young man at the side immediately spoke. There was a hint of dissatisfaction in his tone. Hee, brother Wuji, we also want to see how strong Lin Ling is. Anyway, we don't believe that he can fight you to a draw. Seeing that, the handsome young man immediately smiled apologetically. After hearing that, the skinny young man did not say anything. He also knew that his group of brothers were very arrogant. They thought that they had a strong background, so they did not take anyone seriously at all. Among them, they were very dissatisfied with Lin Ling. Of course, if it were in the past, he would also be somewhat disdainful of Lin Ling and even doubt his strength. However, after 2 rounds of learning from each other, he knew that Lin Ling was hiding secrets that even he did not know about. Therefore, it was also beneficial for them to teach these guys a lesson. Go, call Lin Ling and the other 2 out. Seeing that the skinny young man did not refuse, the rest of them smiled. You think you can do that? However, at this moment, a cold voice rang out. The crowd parted and several figures slowly walked over. It was Zilong, Yiling Tian, and the others. Chapter 3291. Lin Ling couldn't even withstand a single blow. That handsome young man narrowed his eyes as he looked at the person who had arrived. After his words sounded, a formless and colorless wind rose. It was extremely ethereal. In the next instant, that young man's figure appeared in front of the 2 of them. A palm gently slammed forward. 100 realms speed. The expressions of the Zilong duo changed drastically when they realized this. They wanted to resist, but it was clearly too late. They were sent flying with a single move. Too weak. The young man didn't even look at the 2 of them as he spoke. Instead, he stared at the other person and said, "Your strength is quite formidable. You should be able to step into the Saint Realm at any moment. However, you're still very weak against me." The person he was looking at was Zhou Yunfei. Zhou Yunfei's expression was extremely ugly, but he did not dare to say anything. As one of the Flame Emperor's men, he naturally recognized who this group of people was. Therefore, he said, "Send someone to invite Lin Ling and the others." Yes, senior brother. People could see that none of the younger generation of the Grand Change Nebula sect was a match for these people. Therefore, some of them immediately flew towards the West Mountain. Not long after, several figures appeared on the West Mountain. Then, they did not dare to fly and followed the mountain path. In the distance, they saw a figure standing quietly on the top of the mountain, looking into the distance. Senior brother Lin Ling. These people's faces immediately lit up with joy. They hurriedly ran over and told him what had happened before. "Oh, you specifically asked for the 3 of us?" At this moment, that figure turned around. His expression was calm, but there was an air of majesty about him. Their strength is at the Sage Realm. One of them seems to be the leader, but he is very thin and small. Right now, the elders of the sect don't dare to make a move for fear of being a topic of ridicule. Therefore, the sect sent us to invite senior brother Lin Ling and the other 2. Those people spoke one after another. Thin and small? In the Yen state, I don't know many people. I'm afraid he's the only one with such characteristics. However, those people originally wanted to quietly wait for Lin Ling's reply, but who would have thought that instead, a voice came from behind them. They saw a handsome young man walk out of the small house. It was Lin Ling. This guy is interesting. Furthermore, this Lin Ling was not done yet. At the foot of the mountain, another Lin Ling walked up. Ah! What's going on? All of them were instantly flabbergasted. After all, they were half-saint realm experts as well, and ordinary concealment techniques were utterly unable to deceive them. However, they clearly realized that they couldn't see through these identical Lin Ling at all. Could it be the external incarnation technique left behind by the gods? Second brother, since he's looking for us, let's go and have a look. At the same time, Sakra's voice also sounded in the dense forest at the foot of the mountain. Then, a large number of figures flew out from the forest. Two of them were Sakra and Meng Lu, while the others were all Lin Ling. This time, those people all rubbed their eyes, their faces full of confusion. But soon, something like a dream occurred. Lin Ling's silhouettes disappeared in an instant as if they had never been there. On the other hand, the first figure in front of them was looking at them with a smile. I'm about to faint. Yes. Which one is real, and which one is fake? Yes. Lin Ling's senior brother's technique is too powerful. I'm afraid that even a sage can't see through it. Yes. With regards to this kind of godlike method, these few people were thoroughly impressed. How could they know that this was Lin Ling's illusion god real inheritance, myriad transformations? Let's go. Yes. Lin Ling smiled and left the West Mountain with Sakra and the others. During this period of time, they had all been cultivating in seclusion. However, they also discovered that their cultivation speed was getting slower and slower. This made them realize that blindly cultivating would sometimes slow down their cultivation speed. On the contrary, if they stopped for a while, they would have more momentum. At this moment, a large number of people had gathered in the Grand Change Nebula sect, and they were all looking at those young men. Especially some seniors in the Sage realm, they were originally furious. However, someone recognized the origin of those people, and in the end, none of them dared to speak out rashly. That was because those people had a powerful background. They were from the number one family in the Flame State, the Wangu clan. On the other hand, those people had taken out chairs from nowhere. They were drinking tea and chatting casually. Long time no see. However, at this moment, a voice rang out, and the eyes of everyone in the Grand Change Nebula sect lit up. Those who were drinking tea frowned, especially the skinny young man. He even revealed a smile. In the distance, a few figures walked over slowly. The person in the lead was dressed in a blue robe, and he looked calm and confident. He's finally here. The skinny young man said with a smile. He's Lin Ling. Brother Wuji, let me test him. Wangu Fengyun, who was standing beside the skinny young man, looked at him with disdain. He thought that Lin Ling, who was praised by Wangu Wuji, would be very powerful. In the end, it turned out that he was only at the peak of the half-step sage realm. Such strength was not enough for him to look at. Wind god, cloud god. However, he wanted to defeat Lin Ling cleanly. Hence, he used his full strength. He had a grade 10 desolate body and was in the first heaven of the Sage-to-be realm. He was no longer an ordinary Sage-to-be. Lin Ling, right? Let me have a taste of your strength. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. A terrifying force exploded in the sky above the Grand Change Nebula sect. Everyone was extremely nervous when they saw this. Sakra and the others shook their heads and left Lin Ling's side. They then continued to walk forward. Rumble. Wind palms and rain fists descended from the sky. This move made everyone realize how powerful the skinny young man was when he used his full strength. Bang! 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 The ground shook. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Ling was flipped over. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. How can you be so powerful? Lin Ling let out a cry of surprise. He couldn't even withstand a single blow. This outcome undoubtedly shocked the entire Grand Change Nebula sect. Just one move? The gap between their realms is too big. However, these people are from the Wangu clan. This clan has the protection of a god. Their strength is definitely not simple. After recovering from the shock, the seniors frowned and said. Although they were surprised by the outcome, they felt that it was normal. Of course, you have to look up to my strength. Lin Ling, I didn't expect you to be the one who killed old demon. Your strength is too disappointing. Wangu Fengyun looked down at Lin Ling. He was also surprised by the outcome of his move. However, his surprise was soon replaced by pride. Was this the Lin Ling that brother Wangu Wuji was talking about? Is this the hero of the Flame State, Lin Ling? He doesn't deserve his reputation. Get up, Lin Ling. I'll let you make one move first. Your Excellency, I'm not your match. Even if you don't want to fight, you still have to fight. If you don't attack, don't blame me for attacking. Sorry, I admit defeat. Chapter 3292. Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? He continued to use his full strength to torture Lin Ling, causing Lin Ling to groan in pain. He looked extremely pitiful. Brother Wuji, did you see that? You must have been fooled by Lin Ling. He's as weak as an ant. The more he tortured Lin Ling, the more satisfied Wangu Fengyun felt. He even spoke to Wangu Wuji proudly. Fengyun, haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? Wangu Wuji's voice rang through the air, and there was a trace of anger in his voice. Wangu Fengyun was stunned when he heard Wangu Wuji's voice. He didn't understand what Wangu Wuji was trying to say. Turn around and take a look. Wangu Wuji spoke once more, and his words caused Wangu Fengyun to turn around. The moment he did, his face contorted in pain. Beside Wangu Wuji, there were 3 people with smiles on their faces as they sat around the table, drinking tea. Who else could it be other than Lin Ling? What's going on? Wangu Fengyun couldn't help but turn to look at Lin Ling. When he realized that Lin Ling was still begging for his life, he was stunned. Everyone noticed the change in Wangu Wuji's expression, and their eyes widened in shock. When did Lin Ling go over there to drink tea? Come back. Don't embarrass yourself. While you're feeling proud of yourself, he's treating you like a monkey. Wangu Wuji spoke again. He knew that Lin Ling was merely giving him face. Otherwise, Wangu Fengyun would be beaten up like a stray dog. Even though Lin Ling was only at the peak of the half-true saint realm, his strength wasn't to be underestimated. Thank you. Wangu Wuji said to Lin Ling, who was standing beside him. Lin Ling chuckled, there's no need for that. On the contrary, I should be thanking you. You were the first one who supported me the last time. It's just a small matter. Wangu Wuji chuckled. One had to know that he had maintained a cold expression ever since he arrived at the Great Change Nebula sect. He didn't even frown in front of true saints. He didn't even greet them politely. Only when he faced Lin Ling did he smile. In the distance, Wangu Fengyun felt extremely embarrassed. He wanted nothing more than to dig a hole and bury himself in it. Even so, he couldn't help but turn around and look at Lin Ling. It's just a small trick. If we fight head-on, you're definitely not my opponent. Fengyun, you can't even see through his methods. Where did you get the confidence to say that? If he wants to kill you, you won't even know how you will die. Wangu Wuji coldly, Wangu Wuji, Wangu Wuji, Wangu Wuji, and Wangu Wuji. Indeed, he couldn't even see through the illusion. If Lin Ling wanted to kill him, how could he resist? He couldn't help but stare at Lin Ling and the other 2 before bowing respectfully. No wonder Brother Wuji is full of praises for you. I have experienced it today. I hope that Senior Lin Ling won't hold it against me for my recklessness. Lin Ling smiled and waved his hand when he heard what Wangu Wuji had said. When the members of the Great Change Nebula sect saw this, they laughed. The elders were extremely proud of Wangu Wuji. At the very least, there was someone among the younger generation in the Great Change Nebula sect who could withstand the provocation of the Wangu clan. Brother Wuji, you didn't come all the way here just to have a cup of tea, right? Lin Ling smiled as he looked at Wangu Wuji. It was obvious that Wangu Wuji wasn't a refined person. He was a martial arts fanatic who wanted to follow in the footsteps of the gods in the future. It was impossible for him to come and have a cup of tea with Lin Ling. Of course not. I just wanted to go to a place and I thought of you. That's why I invited you to come with me. Wangu Wuji said as he sipped his tea. In the Yen Prefecture? Lin Ling asked. Of course. Other than the Yen Prefecture and Miao Prefecture, I don't want to go to the other divine prefectures. Wangu Wuji nodded. Lin Ling, on the other hand, glanced at Sakura and Meng Lu and finally nodded. They had been in seclusion for too long and it was a good opportunity for them to go out and take a look. Perhaps, they might be able to make a breakthrough. Let's go then. Wangu Wuji smiled when he saw Lin Ling and the others nodding their heads. He then left with Lin Ling and the others. Lin Ling and the others didn't treat the Great Simplicity Nebula sect as their own. Hence, they didn't even bother to say goodbye. However, the Great Simplicity Nebula sect didn't care about their rudeness. On the contrary, many people were excited when they saw Lin Ling and the others leave. They felt proud of them. I didn't expect the Wangu clan to treat the Great Simplicity Nebula sect as their equal. Moreover, these people are disciples of the Constellation Nebula sect. The Great Simplicity Old Ancestor said with a sigh. Apparently, he had been watching the scene unfold. The Wangu clan was definitely more powerful than the Great Simplicity Nebula sect. Unless the martial god behind the Great Simplicity Old Ancestor showed up, the Wangu clan wouldn't have to show any respect to the Great Simplicity Nebula sect. That was the truth. When the few young men arrived, they didn't show any respect to the Great Simplicity Old Ancestor. On the contrary, they showed respect to Lin Ling. The Great Simplicity Old Ancestor didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lin Ling. Jiang Wuxia was also watching the scene unfold. Ever since he had returned, he had been in seclusion and hadn't met anyone. He had only met the Great Simplicity Old Ancestor once. This was because he was too ashamed to meet anyone. Now that he noticed the treatment Lin Ling was receiving, his eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. It was Lin Ling who had destroyed everything he had. He had never expected that his senior brother, Constellation Nebula, had been helpless against him and had even been bullied by him. However, Constellation Nebula's disciples had dealt him such a heavy blow. At that moment, Lin Ling and the others were following Wangu Wuji and strolling in the sky. None of them were weaklings. Although they seemed to be moving slowly, they disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. This was the first time Lin Ling and the others were walking around the flame region. They realized that the continent was much bigger than they had imagined. However, Lin Ling had been here before and the shock disappeared quickly. On the other hand, it was Sakura's first time here and he was deeply attracted to the godly mainland. The place we are heading to is called the Godly Lookout Corner. It is very interesting. Wangu Wuji said with a smile. Why is it interesting? Lin Ling's interest was piqued. If Wangu Wuji was interested in it, it had to be extraordinary. That is because it is the godly arena. There are many secrets and bloodlines left behind by the gods. It is a famous place in the flame region. Furthermore, there are many powerful slaves there. Slaves? That's right. You should know that not everyone can become a citizen of the Yen state. However, there are some who yearn for the godly continent and smuggle themselves in. In the end, after they are caught, they are naturally reduced to slaves. There are also some who were originally citizens of the Yen state. However, because they did something that angered the heavens and the people, the martial god deprived them of their status as citizens. However, they still did not leave. After they were caught, they became slaves. Chapter 3293. The Mysterious Arena. Wangu Wuji continued to speak. Lin Ling and the others' eyes lit up. No matter where one was, there would always be a difference in status. In the Flame Province, the difference in status was even more obvious. As they continued to move forward, many experts appeared in the sky. Most of them were in the Sage realm. Some of them had smiles on their faces, while others had cold expressions on their faces. Their auras were all different, but they were all extremely powerful existences. Wangu Wuji, who had always been arrogant, retracted his aura when he saw these people. The Flame Province is one of the top divine continents in the 9 prefectures. Therefore, there are many cultivators here. Moreover, there are quite a few who are bold and arrogant. After all, those who are able to make it this far have been through countless life and death situations. Sometimes, these cultivators won't care about your status. If they really want to kill you, they won't care about your status. Therefore, it's best if you don't provoke them. Wangu Wuji explained when he saw the doubtful looks on Lin Ling and the others' faces. Wangu Fengyun and the others behind him also kept a low profile. You're from the Wangu clan. How dare they act so arrogantly? Meng Lu asked curiously. Hehe, the Flame Province is huge. So what if I'm from the Wangu clan? If it concerns their benefits, they will still dare to touch me. After that, the Wangu clan won't be able to find them in a short period of time. Cultivators aren't afraid of taking risks in order to become stronger. This is especially true for the cultivators from the Flame Province and Miao Province. That's because they're already very close to the world of gods. Wangu Wuji explained. Lin Ling and the others nodded their heads in agreement. It seemed like this was a place where dragons and snakes mixed together. However, that was for the best. At the very least, the son of the devil wouldn't be a thorn in their side. Even if someone recognized them, it wouldn't affect them much. Is that the divine lookout corner? At this time, Sakura let out a cry of surprise, because a huge eye appeared on the ground in front of him, as if it was the eye of a god. Moreover, the most astonishing thing was, no matter which angle you were at, you would be able to discover that I was looking at you. When he got closer, Lin Ling realized that it wasn't an eye, but a huge arena. Because it was round and there were layers upon layers of seats, it looked like an eyeball from a distance. I see. Sakura gradually discovered this wonderful place, but he still felt uncomfortable in his heart. Because although it was a huge arena, there was still a mysterious aura pervading the air. I heard that a god eye exists in the center of the arena, one of the 6 great god eyes of the universe, the 9th god eye. Of course, many people have secretly investigated, but alas, they found nothing. Thus, the majority of people believe that this is just a rumor. Wangu Wuji explained. Lin Ling nodded his head. He didn't know why, but he could feel a wave of hostility coming from the arena. This hostility didn't come from a single person, but from the entire arena. Lin Ling possessed one of the 6 great god eyes of the universe, the space-time god eye. Perhaps, this was the source of the hostility. Let's go down. Wangu Wuji waved his hand at Lin Ling and the others, and all of them landed on the ground. Following the crowd, they entered the palace. Those people are from the Great Devil sect. After taking a few steps, Sakura suddenly said in a low voice. That's normal. The Great Devil sect of the 9 prefectures might seem to have been chased away, but with their strength, it isn't difficult for them to sneak into the Yen province. Wangu Wuji said as he looked at the other side. Those people over there are from the Immortal Temple. As for those who are wearing armor, they are from the Divine Weapon Mansion, Flying Dragon Organization, and Fu Hang Manor. Look, even the people from the New Heavenly Court are here. Lin Ling immediately looked over and immediately saw many strong cultivators moving forward. They had disguised their appearances, and their auras were extremely cold. This made Lin Ling even more curious. Could it be that these superpowers were here to buy slaves? However, right at this moment, one of them suddenly stopped and looked towards Lin Ling's direction. This person was tall and had long blue hair. Most importantly, his eyes were dark blue as well, and they were extremely mysterious. It was as if he could see through Lin Ling's group. Moreover, he was extremely rude as he sized up Lin Ling and the others. However, Lin Ling and the others didn't say anything. "Lord Golden Crow, what's wrong?" Very quickly, a puzzled voice rang out beside the blue-haired man. The blue-haired man chuckled and shook his head before continuing to walk forward. "It seems like they are from the new heavenly court," Meng Lu muttered to himself when he saw them enter the arena. "Indeed." Lin Ling nodded and stared ahead with a murderous glint in his eyes. After martial god Qilin had fallen, his new enemy was martial god Wen Tian. Martial god Wen Tian had reorganized the heavenly court and recruited many experts. The person who had attacked Lin Ling earlier was extremely talented, and these people were Lin Ling's greatest enemies. Strange. I can't see through that person. He seems to have the sea god's bloodline, but it doesn't seem like it. Wangu Wuji suddenly said. That's the eye of the sea god, one of the 9 great heavenly eyes. Lin Ling explained. What? This time, before Wangu Wuji could say anything, Wangu Fengyun exclaimed. The eye of the sea god was even more powerful than the sea god's bloodline. If what Lin Ling said is true, his talent is definitely in the ultimate desolate physique. Wangu Wuji chimed in. The ultimate desolate physique was extremely rare. Generally speaking, once a martial artist's talent reached the 10th grade desolate physique, they would have to rely on luck to enter the next realm. Not every desolate physique could reach the ultimate desolate physique. Those who possessed the ultimate desolate physique would definitely become martial ancestors in the future. Take Lin Ling for example. Other than Yu, no one around him had the ultimate desolate physique, including Lin Ling himself. However, Lin Ling had a few great talents that had the potential to reach the ultimate desolate physique. This was especially so for the spacetime divine steel. Lin Ling was confident that he could reach the ultimate desolate physique. God's eye against the heavenly eye. Lin Ling muttered to himself. Among the talents of the eye system, Lin Ling was confident that he could defeat the eye of the sea god. Everyone whispered to each other as they entered the arena. The moment they entered, deafening cheers resounded through the arena. Countless people were cheering, shaking the heavens. And in the sky above the arena, there was a huge barrier that blocked everything, preventing the power of the arena from rushing into the sky. How terrifying! Sensing the ferocious aura, the faces of Sakura Tian and the others changed. If the aura wasn't sealed, the sky above the Yen state would probably tremble. If it was placed in the myriad worlds, the impact of the aura would be enough to shatter the myriad worlds. Chapter 3294. The Flame Emperor's Men. On the other hand, Lin Ling frowned as he stared at the barrier in the sky. He realized that the barrier was like a rainbow with all sorts of colors. There were a total of 9 different colors. Moreover, Lin Ling sensed that the power emanating from the membrane gave him a very familiar feeling. It was the 9th god's eye. Lin Ling was finally certain. The 9th god's eye was definitely hidden in the arena. He immediately recalled the rumors that he had heard about the 9th god's eye. The 9th god's eye was the most mysterious of the 6 great god eyes in the universe. It was said that the 9th god's eye wasn't an inanimate object but an independent existence. This meant that the 9th god's eye had its own thoughts and could even transform into a human. Furthermore, it was said that the 9th god's eye possessed the power of a god. 10,000 mammoth demonic eyes. Lin Ling secretly activated his 10,000 mammoth demonic eyes as he tried to see through the barrier. However, his 10,000 mammoth demonic eyes were blocked. Not far from the center of the arena, Lin Ling saw a large number of barriers hidden in a golden brick. The ninth god's eye has been sealed, and its energy has been borrowed by the arena. Lin Ling guessed inwardly. He then retracted his thoughts and continued forward with Wangu Wuji and the others. At the front of the arena, there were some empty seats. However, one had to pay 100 emperor crystals to sit there. It was extremely expensive. However, Wangu Wuji's expression didn't change. After paying the emperor crystals for Lin Ling and the others, he sat down in one of the seats. Wangu Wuji, I don't think it's worth it. Lin Ling said. It's worth it. Although you don't have to pay to sit at the back, it's more convenient for you to sit at the front. For example, you can place bets and enter the arena. There are two types of battles in the arena. The first type is a battle between slaves. Those who win will receive multiple bets. The person who placed the highest bet will obtain the slave. The second type is a battle between slaves and cultivators. If the cultivators are confident in themselves, they can enter the arena. Those who survive will be rewarded handsomely. It's said that the reward starts from 100,000 emperor crystals. If the battle continues, the reward will be multiplied. This is also a battle between life and death. Wangu Wuji explained. Chi. Sakura and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. It was very cruel, but many martial artists would choose this path in order to become stronger. It was also because even if they didn't enter this cruel battlefield, how could the outside world not be cruel? Therefore, only by becoming stronger could one's life be controlled. Kill. While they were talking, a brutal battle broke out in the arena. Those were two slaves. One of them had 6 arms and was 5 meters tall. The other person was as short as a mouse, but the cold claws on his hands were extremely long. Their talents were clearly different, as if they were the descendants of the gods. However, if it were to be compared to a human's talent, it was almost comparable to a 10th grade talent. Swoosh! Blood flowed out of the arena like seawater. What was surprising was that the tall slave was no match for the short slave. His body was constantly being torn apart by the short slave's claws. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. 5 of his 6 arms had been forcefully torn off. It was extremely cruel. However, the 2 slaves did not show any mercy. Even though they were heavily injured and had already won, they continued to fight with their lives on the line. This was because they knew that this was a battle between life and death. Only one of them could leave this place alive. They also knew that they should never underestimate a person who was about to die. In the next moment, the latter could explode with all his might and turn the tables. Kill. 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 That cruel scene caused the crowd to boil with excitement. All of them licked their lips as a bloodthirsty light flashed in their eyes. This was especially so for the tall slave. When his arm was forcefully torn off and fresh blood spurted out, the crowd became even more excited. This scene caused Lin Ling and the others to frown. Although they weren't good people and had killed many people in their lives, they didn't feel any excitement when faced with such a scene. What a bunch of perverts! Lin Ling muttered under his breath. How many of us who are here are good people? Wangu Wuji said calmly. However, just as he finished speaking, an indifferent voice sounded from behind him. Yo, when did our Wangu Wuji become so compassionate? How ironic. This voice was sharp and unkind. It didn't show any mercy because of Wangu Wuji's background. Wangu Fengyun and the others turned around and their faces turned ugly. They saw a group of familiar faces sitting in the row behind them. These people weren't old, but their strength wasn't weak. They were all in the sage realm. Most importantly, they came from all sorts of backgrounds. There were people from the New Heavenly Court, assassins from the Flying Dragon Organization, Fu Hang Manor, Divine Escort Mansion, and many others. Of course, they all had the same identity. They were the Flaming Emperor's men. The Flaming Emperor had recruited a lot of disciples. He would often search for powerful geniuses in the flame state and nurture them before sending them to the various superpowers. This was why the Flaming Emperor had a good relationship with the various superpowers. In the flame state, the Wangu clan was the #1 clan. They had the support of the martial god and were the Flaming Emperor's only opponent. Hence, the two superpowers had always been at odds with each other. Wangu Wuji, you're really lucky to have survived the trip to the Heavenly King Mountain. Hehe, the people from the Wangu clan are really trash. They can only roam around the half-sages. They can't even enter our world. Those people continued to mock Wangu Wuji. It was obvious that they weren't in the same place as Lin Ling and the others. That was because they were stronger. Hence, the battlefield was on the other side. However, Wangu Wuji didn't care about their insults. He continued to chat with Lin Ling and the others as they watched the battle. The faces of the youths turned ugly when they saw Wangu Wuji. They were the Flaming Emperor's men and had been nobles in the flame state since they were young. They also claimed to be part of the ancient god clan. However, Wangu Wuji actually dared to ignore them. Wangu Wuji, since when did you like to hang out with slaves? Don't tell me that you want to become a slave as well. Another person spoke. This person was in the fourth heaven of the sage realm. He had long golden hair and there were a few words on his cloak. It was the New Heavenly Court. Then, he looked at Lin Ling and the others and said, "You slaves, follow me. We'll give you whatever you want. Furthermore, I'll recruit you on behalf of the New Heavenly Court. All you have to do is leave Wangu Wuji." It was obvious that this person wanted to embarrass Wangu Wuji. Hence, he started to make his move on Lin Ling and the others. However, Lin Ling and the rest turned around to take a look. They smiled faintly and continued to watch the arena. Chapter 3295. Lin Ling made his bet. It had to be said that the Flame Emperor was truly ambitious. By allowing his disciples to join the various superpowers, he had managed to tie them all together. However, Lin Ling and the others continued to stare at the arena. Their disregard for Lin Ling caused the faces of the youths to turn cold. In their eyes, Lin Ling and the others were trash. Wangu Wuji had the right to disregard them, but did these ants have the right to do so? Lowly commoners. One of them couldn't hold back his anger and started to curse. The youth named Lin Hongkai who had started the fight also spoke in a hoarse voice, "Did the few of you hear what I said?" However, not only did Sakura Sky and the others ignore him, they even started to study martial arts with Lin Ling. You guys are really bold. The actions of Lin Ling and the others had undoubtedly infuriated the youths. Lin Hongkai stood up. However, before she could speak, Lin Ling finally opened his mouth and said slowly, "Could it be that there are more pigs in the Yen province?" Wangu Wuji chuckled when he heard what Huang Xiaolong said. Most of them are pigs. However, there are some who are worse than pigs. As soon as Wangu Wuji said that, everyone around Lin Hongkai flew into a rage. Pigs? Was he scolding them? Furthermore, they were worse than pigs? Wangu Wuji, don't be too arrogant. Lin Hongkai roared in anger. You guys are worse than pigs. You invited them to join the various superpowers, but did you ask for their permission? Don't think that those forces are so great. In fact, in other people's hearts, those forces are just so. Only some people who are worse than pigs would worship those forces as gods. What a different vision, a different world. Wangu Wuji laughed mockingly as he spoke. You guys. Lin Hongkai and the others felt as though they had suffered a great humiliation. They had given Lin Ling and the others a way out, but who would have thought that Lin Ling and the others wouldn't even bat an eyelid at all? The most ironic thing was that they didn't know about it. On the contrary, they were acting all high and mighty. Sit down. Haven't you embarrassed yourselves enough? While Lin Hongkai and the others were raging, Lin Ling's voice rang out. You have guts. Lin Hongkai glanced at the surroundings, but he didn't dare to interrupt the fun in the arena. He could only grit his teeth and return to his seat. The battle in the arena became more and more intense. A large number of slaves died, and the slaves who won would be taken away by the person who placed the highest bet. Of course, some people didn't want the slaves, so the slaves would have to continue fighting until someone took them away. Otherwise, they would die in battle. It had to be said that these slaves were extremely miserable. Lin Ling sighed softly. He sympathized with the slaves because many of them were humans. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Lin Ling, place your bets. Wangu Wuji made a suggestion. Lin Ling, Sakura, and the others couldn't bring themselves to do it. After all, it was a little too heartless to gamble with other people's lives. Even if you don't place your bets, the fate of the slaves can't be changed. On the other hand, if you don't like this kind of heartless battle, you can change everything after you become stronger. However, you have to be strong enough to fight against the four great gods. Wangu Wuji chuckled. He knew what Lin Ling and the others were worried about. Lin Ling and the others felt relieved when they heard what Wangu Wuji said. Although they sympathized with the slaves, it was useless. They couldn't change anything. It would be better for them to increase their strength. Hence, Lin Ling and the others placed their bets as well. As for Lin Ling, after watching a few matches, he finally came to a decision. Poor commoners, do you have any royal crystals to place your bets? Lin Hongkai mocked when she saw the restless looks on Lin Ling and the others' faces. In my opinion, they can only place 100 royal crystals at most. That's their entire fortune. Place a bet of 10,000 royal crystals. Commoners, do you see that? Do you know what it means to be a noble? Everyone laughed mockingly. They were all high and mighty. Lin Ling, how many royal crystals do you need? I'll lend them to you. Is 1 million enough? When Wangu Wuji heard their words, he couldn't hold it in any longer. He didn't care if Lin Hongkai and the others mocked him. However, when they mocked Lin Ling and the others, he couldn't hold it in any longer. Hence, he decided to go all out and give all his royal crystals to Lin Ling. There's no need for that. I have my own. But who knew that Lin Ling would reject him directly? Lin Hongkai and the others sneered when they saw Wangu Wuji's offer. This lowly commoner must be afraid that he won't be able to pay back Wangu Wuji's royal crystals. They knew that other than the cultivators from the Flame State and Miao State, the other cultivators wouldn't be able to take out 1 million royal crystals. I'll place a bet of 40 million royal crystals. Just as they were about to speak, Lin Ling spoke up. He hadn't used the rewards from the Flame State and Tai Old Ancestor so far. Naturally, he would use it to place a bet. 40 million. Lin Hongkai and the others' eyes widened when they saw Wangu Wuji's bid. They were the Flame Emperor's men and had joined various superpowers. However, they had never seen more than 10 million royal crystals. Even though their cultivation had reached the Sage Realm, they had accumulated their royal crystals bit by bit. It was impossible for them to take out 40 million royal crystals all at once. It's fake. It must be fake. Lin Hongkai shook her head. She didn't believe that a few commoners would be able to take out so much money. In fact, even Wangu Wuji sucked in a breath of cold air. At that moment, a cold old man looked at Lin Ling and asked, "Sir, are you sure you want to place a bet of 40 million royal crystals?" 40 million royal crystals was a huge sum of money. Senior Lu, they must be lying. How can they take out 40 million royal crystals? Roar. Lin Hongcai's roar attracted many people's attention. Commoners, do you know the consequences of lying in the arena? You will be treated like a slave. Senior Lu, catch them. Go. Lin Hongcai pointed at Lin Ling and the others. The old man's face turned colder as he looked at Lin Ling. It seemed as though he was about to make a move. Clearly, he didn't believe that Lin Ling and the others would be able to take out 40 million royal crystals. In the arena, as long as one called out a price, the consequences would be dire if one didn't take out the money. After all, this was a bet. It wasn't a game. You bunch of trash, can you shut up? Shut up. Just as the old man was about to make a move, Lin Ling waved his right hand and a pouch flew towards the old man. The old man frowned as he caught it. He raised his head and looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. 40 million royal crystals, not a single cent less. Shut up. As soon as the words left his mouth, everyone was shocked. Even Wangu Wuji stared at Lin Ling in shock. As for Lin Hongcai and the others, they felt as though they were ducks that had been grabbed by the neck. Their faces were as ugly as it could get. There really was 40 million royal crystals. How could a commoner take out 40 million royal crystals? I wonder who is more like a commoner compared to his 40 million royal crystals. Furthermore, all of you tried to recruit him in such a lofty manner. Don't you feel embarrassed now? Humph. Chapter 3296. This young man is mine. Humph. Humph. Lin Hongcai and the rest snorted coldly as they sat back down in shame. With 40 million emperor crystals on hand, they were obviously more like commoners than Lin Ling. I'll bet on the short young man. All right. At this moment, Lin Ling spoke again. The old man looked at the arena and nodded his head. A cold smile appeared on his face. It was obvious that the short young man had a lower chance of winning. Naturally, he wouldn't reject Lin Ling's bet. If Lin Ling won, they would lose 40 million emperor crystals. The arena was supported by numerous superpowers. There were the Flame Emperor, the New Heavenly Court, Fu Hang Manor, and many other superpowers. There were even some small sects in the Flame Prefecture. The only reason all these superpowers supported the arena was to earn money. Kill. At the same time, the life and death battle in the arena had begun. One of them was a tall and sturdy old man. His upper body was bare, and his body was covered in scars. His aura was extremely cold. Someone recognized him. He was a sect leader from Yu Prefecture, and his strength was at the first heaven of the true Saint realm. His opponent was a young man who was even shorter than Wangu Wuji. The young man was dressed in tattered clothes, and his body and face were extremely skinny. It was as though he was malnourished. However, his eyes were like those of an injured wolf as he stared at the old man. It was obvious that he knew that if the old man didn't die, he would be the one to die. However, his cultivation was only at the 10th heaven of the half-true saint realm. Kill. The old man roared and a terrifying amount of energy surged out from his body. Rumble. The two of them clashed fiercely. However, how could the young man be a match for the old man? After a few exchanges, the young man's injuries became more severe. Everyone realized that one of the young man's legs was lame. He's dead. At that moment, no one was optimistic about the young man's chances. They thought that he would die without a doubt. Lin Ling, why did you choose him? Wangu Wuji frowned. He didn't understand why Lin Ling had chosen him. Hearing this, Lin Ling smiled and shook his head without saying a word. On the contrary, Lin Hongcai and the others behind him roared with laughter. They felt extremely happy when they saw Lin Ling lose 40 million divine crystals. Rumble. The battle in the arena became more and more intense. The young man was like a kite in a storm, like a canoe in the ocean, about to be destroyed at any moment. Your life is mine. Young man, don't blame me. In this heartless world, either you die or I live. The old man shouted coldly. He knew that the young man had reached his limit. He only needed to exert a little more strength to kill the young man. At a time like this, he would not show any mercy. Rumble. However, to everyone's surprise, the youth was extremely tenacious. Despite being heavily injured several times, his thin and weak body could still stand up with great difficulty. Furthermore, he was limping as he tried to avoid the old man's attacks. Bang! After another attack, the young man finally fell to the ground, and a large amount of blood flowed out from his body. No one doubted that this thin and weak youth would die from blood loss. Because he was indeed too skinny. Sigh. Wangu Wuji sighed softly when he saw the situation. 40 million Emperor crystals had all gone to the arena. As for the old man in the arena, he sneered inwardly as he looked at Lin Ling. His eyes were filled with schadenfreude. 40 million Emperor crystals had been generously accepted by the arena. Lin Hongkai and the others roared with laughter when they saw the old man's reaction. Someone mocked us for being worse than pigs. However, it seems like he is the one who is being mocked. Under countless gazes, the emotionless old man walked towards the young man step by step. After all, the young man had been extremely tenacious. Now that he did not want to cause any more trouble, he decided to kill the young man with his own hands. When he arrived in front of the young man, his energy surged out and he lifted the young man up. Then, he grabbed the young man's neck. The young man's eyes were cold as he looked at the old man. If you want to blame someone, blame it on your bad luck for meeting me. The old man was a person of virtue and prestige in Yu Prefecture. However, in Yen Prefecture, he had turned from a kind senior to a cold-blooded killer. Everything was for the sake of survival. Crack. He exerted a little force in his hand and the young man's neck was crushed. When they heard the sound of bones being crushed, the crowd finally laughed. Their laughter was extremely cruel. Alright, the winner has appeared. The old man outside the arena let out a loud roar. Wait, isn't the winner determined when one of them dies and the other survives? However, at this moment, Lin Ling's voice floated out. Everyone's eyes narrowed and then a large number of curses were heard. The old man outside the arena sneered. He understood Lin Ling. After all, 40 million Emperor crystals had gone down the drain. No one would be able to accept it. However, in the arena, they had to accept it even if they did not want to. Just as he was about to speak, a sudden change occurred. The eyes of the youth whose neck had been crushed changed, turning pitch black. A dagger had appeared in his hand at some point in time, and he slashed it across the air. This dagger looked very shabby, but it was engraved with the bones of a skeleton. It was obviously an extraordinary existence. The old man could not react to the sudden appearance of the dagger because he thought the young man was already dead. Moreover, he did not expect the young man to have a fatal attack. Whoosh! However, the old man was also a sect leader. At the critical moment, boundary energy appeared on the surface of his body to block the dagger. However, the black light passed by and slashed his neck. He was stunned on the spot and the young man in his hand was powerlessly put down. Then, he fell on his back. The thin and weak young man did not show any mercy. He dragged his heavily injured body and pounced on the old man. Under countless gazes, he cut off the old man's head. He only quietly put away the dagger when he was finally sure that the old man was dead. All around the arena, there was a deathly silence. No one could have imagined that such a scene would occur. Hee, I want this young man. However, the silence did not last long. Lin Ling's laughter was finally heard. The young man in the arena raised his head and his eyes shone with joy. That was because he had been a slave for a long time. Even if he won, no one wanted him, forcing him to continue to fight to the death in the arena. But now, he finally had a master, and he could leave the Colosseum. Amazing! Amazing! Wangu Wuji was stunned for a moment before he praised Lin Ling. He looked at Lin Ling and asked, "How did you know that he would win?" "I'm also relying on my intuition because I feel that he has something on his mind that he hasn't put down. He won't die. This desire to live is not for himself, but for other things, or for other people. As for the other slaves in the arena, the light in their eyes is mostly for themselves. The two are different." Lin Ling laughed. "You bet on him just because of that?" Wangu Wuji was shocked. Lin Ling was taking too much of a risk. Sometimes, a cultivator's strength isn't the only thing that matters. It also depends on his willpower, fighting spirit, and determination. Lin Ling shook his head. "You are really a crazy gambler," Wangu Wuji said in admiration. Chapter 3297. Victory. We've won. The old man outside the arena had a cold expression on his face. The gladiator arena had lost 40 million royal crystals, which was a huge sum of money. It represented the gladiator arena's daily income. He did not know how to explain this to the big shots. As for the people behind Lin Ling, they were speechless as if they had been slapped in the face by Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling did not pay any attention to them. Instead, he looked at the old man outside the arena. When the old man saw this, he immediately handed over 80 million royal crystals to Lin Ling. "There are 80 million royal crystals here." When his voice drifted out, the entire gladiator arena fell silent. Many people's gazes towards Lin Ling had quietly changed. Obviously, the old man had done this on purpose. This was also a waste of his time. However, Lin Ling only smiled faintly in the face of everyone's strange gazes. He took the royal crystals without hiding anything. Although he did not want to be a thorn in their side, he would not spit out the fat meat on the knife's edge in front of 40 million royal crystals. He even guessed that with so many people in the arena, someone might have recognized him. However, what would come would come. When the time came, he would think about how to deal with it. "Where's my slave?" Then, Lin Ling said faintly. In fact, apart from the 40 million royal crystals, Lin Ling also had his eyes on the young man. "Leave it to him." The old man was still smiling, but his smile was cold. Then, the limping young man was overjoyed. He left the arena and walked toward Lin Ling. Then, he appeared beside Lin Ling and stood quietly like a loyal guard. Obviously, he knew that the young man who had saved him had offended the arena. "Master!" he shouted in a low voice. Lin Ling waved his hand. "You don't have to call me master. From now on, you're no longer a slave." As soon as he finished speaking, the brocade pouch that the old man had given him appeared in his right hand. Not only did it contain the Emperor Crystal, it also contained the slave enchantment that could control the young man's life. However, Lin Ling's left hand continued to point and break those barriers. The youth immediately noticed that the slave enchantment engraved in the depths of his soul was gradually disappearing. He couldn't help but look at Lin Ling in surprise. "I'm not interested in slaves. I'm helping you because I don't want you to be buried here. Right now, you can leave on your own, or you can stay by my side," Lin Ling said indifferently. The young man looked at Lin Ling in surprise. He could sense the aura of a superior being coming from the young man in front of him, as if he was a god. This made him have a feeling that he couldn't miss this great one. Otherwise, he would definitely regret it. This subordinate is willing to follow Darren. The young man knelt down on one knee. Have you made up your mind? Following me might be very dangerous. Milord, this subordinate has thought it over. Furthermore, this subordinate's life was saved by Milord. Without Milord, this subordinate would have died long ago. The boy said firmly. Very well, then you'll follow me from now on. Lin Ling nodded his head. This young man's aura was similar to Do Kaniang's. With Do Kaniang's guidance, he would definitely be a good seedling. This fellow. Wangu Wuji, who was standing by the side, nodded his head inwardly. Lin Ling's actions were clearly better than using the slave enchantment to control the young man. After all, it was impossible to rely on forceful methods to make someone submit wholeheartedly. He realized that although Lin Ling seemed to be low-key, he was actually hiding the domineering aura of a king. Everyone retracted their gazes from Lin Ling and stared at the arena. The battle was still intense. It was a pity that the slaves weren't as lucky as the young man. Even if they won, they had to prepare for the next life and death battle before dying. Lin Ling didn't place any more bets. Luck could only be used once, and he didn't want to lose everything. As for the old man outside the arena, when he saw that Lin Ling was so calm and no longer placing any bets, he cursed in his heart. After the battle in the arena ended, it was time for the cultivators and slaves to fight. This was the best time for the cultivators to look for money. Of course, it was also dangerous. As soon as the arena was opened, the surroundings were in an uproar. Lin Ling, are you interested? Wangu Wuji asked as he looked at Lin Ling. This made Lin Ling curious. Wangu Wuji immediately explained, according to the rules of the arena, the participants can only be of the same cultivation realm. Furthermore, they have to fight 10 consecutive battles before they can leave. If they win, they will win a large amount of royal crystals. Of course, this is also a test for the cultivators. Lin Ling's eyes lit up when he heard this. He was currently stuck at a bottleneck and he was lacking royal crystals. As long as there was a chance for him to look for money, Lin Ling didn't want to miss it. After all, he guessed that he wouldn't be able to stay in the Great Change Nebula sect for long. I'll go first. When Wangu Wuji saw the battle intent in Lin Ling's eyes, a smile appeared on his face. He knew that Lin Ling would definitely dare to go. Although not everyone dared to challenge the battle of life and death in the gladiator arena unless they had a certain amount of confidence in their own strength, Lin Ling was no ordinary person. Humph. Wangu Wuji is actually going to fight. He's courting death. When Lin Hongkai and the others saw Wangu Wuji jumping off the arena, they rejoiced in his misfortune. The moment Wangu Wuji landed, an old man with antlers appeared in the arena. His cultivation realm was the same as Wangu Wuji's. They were both in the first heaven of the true sage realm. Die. The old man suddenly transformed into a huge stag. His speed was terrifying, reaching 120 times the speed of a human. His speed had already surpassed many early-stage true sages. However, it was a pity that he was facing someone from the Wangu clan. Wangu Wuji immediately unleashed his desolate god bloodline. The moment his blood claw appeared, a storm of blood appeared. Wangu Wuji won the first battle. That move seems to be the 32nd move of the Music of Darkness. That person is from the Wangu clan. Everyone's eyes lit up, and some of the experts started to make guesses. Wangu Wuji won the second battle. When it came to the 10th battle, the crowd went into an uproar. After all, Wangu Wuji was the first person to win the 10th battle. As for Wangu Wuji, he was panting heavily as he fought against 10 First Heaven true saints. Furthermore, they were all powerful slaves. He was completely exhausted. As for Lin Hongkai and the others, all of them were cursing Wangu Wuji. However, the results disappointed them. Wangu Wuji won the 10th battle. Clap. 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 Lin Ling was the first to clap when he saw the results. Since he had bet 10 million Emperor crystals on Wangu Wuji, it was only natural that he had profited. Brother Wangu, you're amazing. When Wangu Wuji returned, Wangu Fengyun and the others couldn't help but praise him. It's just a fluke. Battles like this get harder as the battle progresses. After all the slaves who can fight have gone through life and death battles. Their strength is at least 2 times stronger than ordinary First Heaven true sages. Chapter 3298. Lin Ling's Battle. Lin Ling could sense that Wangu Wuji was showing signs of a breakthrough. It seemed like the effects of this battle were pretty good. Big brother, Meng Lu, are you guys going to play? Lin Ling turned to the side and asked. However, Meng Lu and Wangu Wuji had solemn expressions on their faces. It was obvious that they had sensed that the slaves weren't weak. In the end, they shook their heads. Generally speaking, only 2 out of 10 people would be able to walk out alive. It wasn't something they could enter with their current strength. As expected of a lowly commoner. Cowardly like a mouse. People like you will only be like this for the rest of your lives. Right at that moment, a mocking voice sounded from behind them. It was Lin Hongkai. Since you're so strong, why don't you give it a try? Indra sneered when he heard Lin Hongkai's words. His words caused Lin Hongkai's face to freeze. If you don't dare, then stop spouting nonsense. Meng Lu sneered. Learn from Wangu Wuji. At least he dares to fight. But you? You're just a stray dog. You. Everyone was enraged. As for Lin Hongkai, he gritted his teeth. He refused to believe that he was weaker than Wangu Wuji. I'll fight the next battle. He leaped into the air, causing the entire arena to fall silent. The old man standing at the side of the arena frowned. This batch of slaves isn't weak. Don't worry. I'm the disciple of the Flaming Emperor. Why would I be afraid? With a roar, Lin Hongkai landed directly on the arena. His opponent was a one-armed man. His long hair hung loosely behind him, and his eyes were as cold as ice. It was as though he had gone through the greatest torture in his life. I'll kill you. Lin Hongkai roared as he unleashed his full strength. His opponent wasn't weak either, and he clashed with Lin Hongkai in an instant. Is the arena supposed to warn him? Indra suddenly asked when he saw Lin Hongkai fighting. His words stunned Wangu Wuji and the others. They quickly regained their senses. The old man seemed to have warned Lin Hongkai earlier. However, the old man didn't bother to warn the others. The Flaming Emperor is backing the arena. No wonder the old man warned him. Wangu Wuji said coldly. In fact, many people had also seen this detail. They were all secretly cursing the unfairness, but they did not dare to act out. Rumble. At this moment, the battle in the arena was getting more and more intense. As a disciple of the Flame Emperor, Lin Hongkai's strength was not to be underestimated. She had actually won 5 rounds in a row. His entire being became complacent as he looked at Sakura and the others with contempt. However, the opponent in the 6th round was extremely powerful. Lin Hongkai had to use all of her strength to barely kill her opponent. Motherfucker, trash, what's the use of not dying? You actually injured me. After tearing her opponent apart, Lin Hongkai was clearly infuriated. She kept cursing. Lin Hongkai, aren't you very arrogant? You still have 4 matches. Let's see how you're going to win. Sakura and the others could also see that Lin Hongkai had reached her limit and was now crazily counterattacking. Lin Hongkai was enraged. She crazily attacked her 7th opponent. After she was seriously injured again, she finally killed her opponent. She even stepped on his corpse to vent her anger. But it was obviously impossible for him to win the 8th round. Seeing this, the crowd sneered. This arrogant young man was in trouble. As for the other disciples of the Flame Emperor, their faces were gloomy. Could it be that they could only watch as Lin Hongkai died in the arena? You should leave. However, at this moment, the elder suddenly spoke. This time, the entire arena was in an uproar. This was because the rules of the arena stated that no one could leave without fighting 10 rounds. This rule had always been unbreakable. All right. However, Lin Hongkai could not care less. She immediately strode away. This was because she did not have the confidence to win the next round. What do you mean by that? This is too unfair. Yeah, who's the person behind the arena? Come out and speak. Give us justice. Voices of unwillingness rang out one after another. Shut up. However, the elder outside the arena shouted angrily. This also let the crowd know that Lin Hongkai was related to the owner of the arena. Suddenly, the crowd did not dare to object. The elder also wanted this matter to be over quickly. Hence, the next battle began immediately. Roar! Roar! A 5-meter-tall giant appeared in the arena at this moment. This giant's strength was at the peak of the Sage-to-Be realm. The combat strength of the arena has started to decline. Who dares to fight a peak Sage-to-Be realm expert? The old man said indifferently, but his eyes were vaguely looking in Lin Ling's direction. Aren't you guys very powerful? Go on, go on. I don't think you can win this battle. You are a coward if you don't go. At this moment, Lin Hongkai was also seizing the opportunity to sneer harshly. He was venting his displeasure towards Lin Ling and the others. A piece of trash who relied on the help of others to escape death dares to speak? This time, Wangu Wuji mocked. His words made Lin Hongkai and the rest grit their teeth. They could not refute him. However, at this moment, Lin Ling also stood up. This shocked Sakura and the rest. Is Lin Ling going to fight? I will fight this battle. Indeed, Lin Ling said indifferently. Everyone turned to look at Lin Ling. No one had expected that the delicate young man would dare to fight. After all, many of them had sensed that the elder outside the arena was trying to lure Lin Ling and the rest to fight. You have guts. If you win, the arena will reward you with 3 million royal crystals. The old man immediately laughed. His laughter was very cold. 3 million royal crystals was a huge sum of money to many cultivators. Of course, Lin Ling did not want to miss out on such a huge sum of royal crystals. I will bet 40 million royal crystals on myself. Lin Ling said as he looked at Wangu Wuji. Brother Wuji, can you lend me 40 million royal crystals? Previously, Lin Ling had won a total of 90 million royal crystals. However, he did not take them out. This made Wangu Wuji suspicious. However, he nodded his head in agreement. After Lin Ling placed his bet, he floated into the arena. Crazed cries rang out from all around him. Kill him! Kill him! Tear him apart! I want to see his corpse being torn apart by 5 horses. It had to be said that many cultivators were bloodthirsty. They wanted to see a bloody scene. What a bunch of perverts! Sakura and the rest said coldly as they looked at the arena. A trace of worry could be seen in their eyes. Although Lin Ling was strong, this was the arena of the Flame Province. The slaves gathered here were not weak. After all, even an expert like Wangu Wuji had only won 10 battles by luck. Lin Ling naturally knew about their worries. However, he dared to enter the arena because he wanted to break through to the next cultivation realm. This was also the reason why he did not take out his royal crystals to bet. He had already used them to refine them. Roar! Roar! Chapter 3299. The Final Battle. This fist contained 70% of his strength. It was the Strength King's step. Furthermore, this giant also had one of the 100 great bloodlines, the bloodline of the Nantong strength god. As expected of a lowly commoner. Money is more important than life. Lin Hongkai and the others were gloating. Lin Ling's eyes flickered when he saw the terrifying punch coming his way. He could clearly feel that the punch was extraordinary and was coming for his life. Ka ka ka. The dragon bones in Lin Ling's body and the realm-swallowing beast were all riled up. He also threw out a punch. Bang! The sound of this collision was deafening. Lin Ling was also immediately sent flying. It looked like he was not a match at all. Ka ka ka. However, Lin Ling could feel the blood and qi in his body churning, and his dantian was also shaking. But because of this, the speed at which he refined the emperor crystals increased. Again. Lin Ling sneered. He hadn't used his full strength in the previous punch. He wanted to use the other party to speed up his cultivation. Bang bang bang. In the arena, the big one and the small one continued to clash. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting apart. At first, people were cheering excitedly, but gradually, they felt that something was wrong. That was because the young man was repeatedly injured, but he didn't die. It was as if the young man wasn't using his full strength at all. Your role is over. In the end, Lin Ling said coldly. The power of 900 worlds erupted. Boom! With a single punch, the giant's chest was blasted open, and blood rained down like rain. This scene shocked the crowd. Because the strength of that tall giant wasn't weak at all. It possessed the energy of 800 worlds, and coupled with its formidable world essence, it could be ranked at the top amongst the peak of the half-saint realm. However, he was killed by a single punch. This result was far too shocking. However, Lin Ling did not stop and continued to fight. Zhang Ma, go. The old man said coldly. A monster with the body of a horse and the head of a human appeared. Its horse body was blood red, and it also had 2 human arms. It was extremely thick, and it held a large blade in its hand. It let out a horse-like neigh, and then it charged toward Lin Ling with murderous intent. Lin Ling was the same as before, using his opponents to train himself. However, this monster called Zhang Ma was extremely vicious and merciless. Each of his moves was more ferocious than the previous one. He wanted to kill Lin Ling alive. In the end, Lin Ling unleashed the power of 1,000 worlds and blasted the head of the human-headed monster apart. Next battle. Lin Ling's body was already dyed red with blood, but his fighting spirit was boiling. Moreover, his killing intent was extremely dense. In the third battle, Lin Ling did the same. After tempering himself for a while, he blasted his opponent to death. The fourth battle. The fifth battle. The sixth battle. Everyone witnessed the battle with their own eyes and immediately shouted crazily, because Lin Ling's methods were simple and crude, which also stimulated the bloodthirst in their hearts. He's so powerful? After the sixth battle, the old man's face became more and more unpleasant. This was because Lin Ling had already placed a huge bet. In addition to the royal crystals that Lin Ling had won previously, he could not let Lin Ling leave alive. Ghost Hedgehog, fight! The slaves that he called out were all the strongest trump cards in the same realm. The opponent of the seventh battle was actually a man with spikes all over his body like a hedgehog. If one looked carefully, those spikes were poisonous. As soon as he entered the arena, he did not give Lin Ling any time to rest. He immediately went against Lin Ling. This opponent was obviously very powerful and brought a lot of trouble to Lin Ling. Those spikes made Lin Ling hesitate. Most importantly, he was also stabbed by the spikes and was poisoned. He was a little dizzy. However, after the poison entered Lin Ling's body, it also stimulated the operation of his dantian, and the speed of refining the royal crystals became faster. Second brother. Sakura and the others did not understand the situation and were extremely worried at this moment. On the other hand, Lin Hongkai and the others were excited. They wished that they could see Lin Ling being pierced 1,000 times. Unfortunately, they were going to be disappointed. After a period of time, Lin Ling erupted with 1200 world power and forcibly broke those spikes. Then, he tore that sinister man apart. The eighth battle. The opponent that appeared was an old woman. She was wearing a large cloak and her entire body was dirty. Her hair was also scattered casually, giving off a gloomy feeling. After she appeared, she immediately chanted an incantation, causing Lin Ling to enter a strange realm. In this realm, he killed all his family and friends, almost going crazy. It's forbidden Granny High. Many people looked at the ugly old woman and secretly nodded. That old woman's notoriety spread far and wide. She was an extremely vicious and merciless existence. TSK, young man, you're dead. Seeing Lin Ling's almost crazy appearance, that old woman also revealed her yellow front teeth. It was as disgusting as it could be. Then, she walked towards Lin Ling step by step. She took out a small black knife. It was obviously a poisonous thing. She wanted to assassinate Lin Ling. In the end, she also easily assassinated Lin Ling, which made her very happy. Ugly woman, you should die. However, just after the assassination attempt, a cold voice came from behind her. Then, a sword slashed over and cut the old woman in half. Only then did people realize that another Lin Ling had appeared behind the old woman. Moreover, it was exactly the same. Illusion. An old man let out a low voice. The battle had reached this point, and this young man finally used other methods. And the ninth battle came immediately. The arrival of this battle also made Lin Ling realize that he was getting closer and closer to breaking through. Therefore, he still endured and did not erupt with his full strength. He relied on his physical body and world essence to meet the other party head-on. In an instant, the arena was dyed red with the blood of the two people. Just as everyone thought that Lin Ling was exhausted, Lin Ling won by a fluke. It's time to end this. Wangu Wuji knew that Lin Ling had reached his limit, so he stopped the 10th battle. The 10th battle. The old man at the side of the arena said coldly. I said, it's over. Wangu Wuji stood up immediately. Sakura Tian and the others did the same as well. The rules of the arena state that the battle cannot be stopped until the 10th battle is over. The old man said without even looking at Wangu Wuji. Why didn't you say anything when someone broke the rules earlier? Wangu Wuji's face was as cold as ice. The rules of the arena state that the battle cannot be stopped until the 10th battle is over. Clearly, the old man did not want to talk about the previous matter. Kill. 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 At the same time, the people around the arena started to shout. They would not allow Lin Ling to leave. They wanted nothing more than to tear Lin Ling to shreds. Bastard! Wangu Wuji and the others could only return to their seats helplessly. However, they clenched their fists tightly, and their eyes turned red. As long as Lin Ling's life was in danger, they would definitely break the rules and save him. Even though Sakura Tian and the others knew that Lin Ling still had many trump cards up his sleeves, they could not deny that Lin Ling was heavily injured. Slaves were all vicious and merciless. They would be able to deal a fatal blow before they died. Even if Lin Ling still had trump cards up his sleeves, what use would it be if he died? Little friend, you are really strong. Chapter 3300. Tribulation of a Sage. I was just lucky. Ha! Lin Ling chuckled. He could tell that the middle-aged man wasn't weak at all. His innate talent was at the half-desolate body. I'm sorry, but I broke through. Ha! The moment Lin Ling finished speaking, the middle-aged man sneered. His cultivation realm had entered the sage realm and he had reached the third heaven of the sage realm. He broke through. Ha ha ha. Interesting. This is getting more and more interesting. Ha. When the crowd saw what had happened, they started to laugh crazily. Most of them had bet on Lin Ling to lose. This is against the rules. This is a battle between Sage Realm experts. Ha! Sakura and the others glared at the middle-aged man and started to shout. The rules of the battle stated that it was a battle between people of the same cultivation realm. However, a Sage Realm expert had appeared, so it didn't count. The slave broke through during the battle, so it's not against the rules. Ha! The old man replied coldly. His eyes were filled with a sinister light. It was obvious that the arena had done something. Broke through during the battle? Can the arena be any more shameless? Firstly, they hadn't fought yet. Secondly, even if the slave broke through during the battle, who could reach the third heaven of the sage realm in an instant? It was obvious that the slave was at the third heaven of the sage realm. Ha! Wangu Wuji sneered coldly. What you said is merely a guess. Because it's a guess, the arena doesn't think it's valid. Continue the battle. Ha! When the old man heard Wangu Wuji's words, he felt a little guilty. However, he still spoke coldly. The killing intent in his eyes was extremely dense. That's right. Continue the battle. Ha! The crowd started to chime in, and the atmosphere in the arena reached its peak. Little friend, I didn't want things to turn out this way. After all, I'm not the one who has the final say in breaking through. Ha! At this moment, the middle-aged man in the arena had a cold smile on his face. Then, he attacked. 80% of his cultivation realm energy exploded out. His boundary essence was like an ocean as it rushed towards Lin Ling. Pooh! Before the energy could reach him, Lin Ling, who was injured, spat out a mouthful of blood. However, he was able to reach the Sage Realm expert with a speed of 150 worlds. Fang Jing. Sensing Lin Ling's terrifying speed, the middle-aged man was also shocked, but he also activated his innate talent. Immediately, 4 huge mirrors appeared in the arena and began to shrink. They stood up and reduced the space that Lin Ling could move around. So he's Taoist Heaven Mirror. Someone immediately recognized the middle-aged man. He was the patriarch of a family in Miao Prefecture. His strength was not weak in the 9 prefectures. That brat is fighting like a cornered beast. Soon after, many people looked at the shrinking space and sneered one after another. Lin Ling also noticed that the space around him was shrinking, and his expression turned serious. Right now, he could explode with all his trump cards and kill the middle-aged man. However, in this moment of life and death, he could sense that a breakthrough was right in front of him. Therefore, he could not kill him yet. Go to hell. At this moment, the middle-aged man clapped his hands, and a shockwave blasted forward. It was extremely powerful, and the most terrifying thing was that after the shockwave collided with the surrounding spatial mirrors, it actually started rebounding. Moreover, it rebounded more and more, causing the spatial mirrors to be filled with shockwaves. Rumble. No matter how fast Lin Ling was, it was impossible for him to dodge the shockwave and he was sent flying. He's dead. This time, a cruel smile appeared on the old man's face. He felt that his anger had been vented. Attack. Take Lin Ling away and leave immediately. Go. Wangu Wuji and the others leaped up from their seats and prepared to break through the barrier. However, before they could do so, the dark clouds in the sky started to rumble. A terrifying aura descended from the heavens. It was as though a god was looking down on the world. Sage's tribulation? Everyone was shocked when they sensed the aura. The most terrifying thing was that the tribulation clouds in the sky were different from the ones they had seen in the past. Lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. Instead of smashing down, the tribulation clouds were filled with ferocious chi, devil chi, ghost chi, dragon chi, and killing intent. All kinds of heaven and earth energy gathered together and formed a dragon-like lightning. This time, the might of the tribulation clouds was even greater. This was the first time anyone had seen a sage's tribulation. Under the dark clouds, Lin Ling felt an immense pressure on his body. In fact, inner demons were starting to appear in his heart. One had to know that there were no inner demons in the half-true sage tribulation. These inner demons were actually the people Lin Ling had killed in the past. There were many of them, and all of them charged towards Lin Ling as though they wanted to drag Lin Ling into the netherworld. Scram! Scram! However, Lin Ling's martial heart was extremely firm. Not only was he not afraid, he formed a giant sword with his soul force and slashed it towards the inner demons. However, the inner demons did not stop there. In the next moment, Lady Shui Wu and the others appeared. These were the people who had died in the holy land of the rainforest. This time, Lin Ling was unable to use his sword. I owe all of you a favor. Whatever you want, come at me. Lin Ling gave up on defending himself. The inner demons charged over and began to devour Lin Ling's soul. Lin Ling allowed them to devour his soul. Time passed bit by bit. However, although Lin Ling's soul was devoured, it was still not destroyed. Why don't you die? This caused the inner demons to shout ferociously. Because if I die, who will bring all of you back from the netherworld? Lin Ling raised his head and said word by word. This was a powerful determination and grand goal. He wanted to sweep through the netherworld and bring back all of his friends and family. Boom! Under his voice, all the inner demons exploded. Instead, Lady Shui Wu and the others appeared. They looked at Lin Ling and smiled with relief. Lin Ling, we will wait for you. Then, all the inner demons disappeared, as if they had never appeared. This scene seemed slow, but to the people outside, it happened in the blink of an eye. Sage Tianjing, quick, stop him. At this moment, there were a lot of voices around the arena. Everyone wanted to see Lin Ling fail in his breakthrough. From Lin Ling's sage's tribulation, if Lin Ling succeeded in his breakthrough, he would definitely be a terrifying sage. However, there was no need for them to remind him. The middle-aged man's eyes were red as he attacked. Boom! However, before he could get close to Lin Ling, the dragon-shaped lightning in the sky exploded. The four mirrors shattered instantly. The middle-aged man vomited blood and was sent flying. Rumble! The power of the sage's tribulation was extremely terrifying, causing the entire arena to fall silent. However, it came quickly and disappeared quickly, causing the entire arena to fall silent for a moment. Everyone was wondering if the young man had succeeded in breaking through. He failed. He must have failed. However, many people were shaking their heads. They couldn't wait to see Lin Ling go berserk. However, when all kinds of energy rolled on the ground, footsteps were finally heard. I'm sorry, but I've also broken through. Chapter 3301. Killed with a single arrow. After the voice drifted out, the arena became even quieter. The faces of the big shots from the various forces in the 9 prefectures turned cold. Even though many of them didn't know who this young man was, the Saint Tribulation from before allowed them to realize that this young man would definitely be extraordinary in the future if he were to grow up. Now that the young man had successfully entered the sage realm, there was one more person who could not be underestimated in the pyramid of the 9 prefectures. Whoosh! At that moment, there were still electric snakes wreaking havoc on the ground of the arena. Lin Ling stood amidst the scattered thunderbolts and smiled at the middle-aged man. At the same time, he was checking his own cultivation level. To his surprise, all 4 of his Dantians had stepped into the first level of the Saint Realm. It was no wonder that the previous sage's tribulation was so powerful and could gather all kinds of energy. The reason was because of Lin Ling's 4 Dantians. Fortunately, Lin Ling had prepared for a long time in order to break through to the Saint Realm, and he had prepared all sorts of treasures. Therefore, he successfully broke through. Of course, the 80 million divine crystals had been completely consumed. I didn't expect to spend so many royal crystals to break through to the saint stage. Lin Ling shook his head. 10 million royal crystals were enough for an ordinary saint realm cultivator, and the 10 million included the treasures that the saint needed for his cultivation. However, Lin Ling needed 80 million royal crystals just to make a breakthrough. The gap between them was obvious. Looks like the opening of the 5th Dantian will have to be delayed again. While Lin Ling was constantly checking himself, the middle-aged man's expression kept changing. Previously, he had broken through and wanted to crush this young man. Who would have thought that this young man would break through as well? This was like a vicious slap to his face. Most importantly, he also saw that this young man was not an ordinary sage's tribulation. He was definitely not weak. Why are you in a daze? Go and kill him. Seeing that the middle-aged man was very cautious, an angry roar immediately came from the side of the arena. If you still don't make a move, then you'll definitely die once that young man wakes up. After all, this is a life and death arena. Some old men said emotionlessly. Their words made the middle-aged man come back to his senses. Indeed, although the young man couldn't be underestimated, this was a battle of life and death. Thinking of this, he began to walk forward, but he was still cautious. However, at this moment, Lin Ling slowly raised his eyes and looked at the middle-aged man indifferently. With merely a single glance, a wisp of indescribable pressure assaulted him, and it caused the middle-aged man's heart to tremble. It felt as if he'd seen a god. He did not know why he was afraid, but he had a feeling that the young man was looking at him as if he was looking at an ant. It was like the young man had killed many at the initial stage of the Saint Realm. You've violated the rules. This is the battlefield of the peak of the half-Saint Realm. However, you're already at the first layer of the Saint Realm. Violating the rules is equivalent to challenging the arena. You'll only end up dead. I'll give you a chance. Kill yourself. Suppressing the shock in his heart, the middle-aged man immediately said coldly. Then, aren't you a saint? Why don't you give yourself a chance to commit suicide? Hearing this, Lin Ling smiled mockingly. Me? The middle-aged man couldn't refute. He was just looking for an excuse to make Lin Ling commit suicide. It seems like you're very afraid of me. At this moment, Lin Ling spoke again, and his words caused the middle-aged man's eyes to narrow. However, it's normal for you to be afraid of me, because it's just a move for me to kill you. Lin Ling said coldly. After he finished speaking, he waved his right hand, and a huge dragon bow appeared. The dragon god was roaring, and its aura was extremely terrifying. After reaching the Saint Realm, he was now like a saint. With the combination of his 4 dantians and the dragon bone, the power of the calamity-destroying sun bow had more than doubled. After the shocking bone bow appeared, the entire arena was in an uproar. It had to be said that the huge dragon bone bow was really awe-inspiring. I feel like I've seen this bow before. However, there were also people who frowned. As for the middle-aged man, his expression changed drastically. He could feel a huge pressure from the dragon bow, as if it was a divine ability of the dragon tribe. He immediately activated his powerful talent, and many mirrors appeared in front of him. His defense was extremely strong. The moment you're afraid of me, you're already dead. However, in the face of the middle-aged man's powerful aura, Lin Ling only spoke indifferently. After he finished speaking, the dragon bow in his hand shot out. The 4 dragons intertwined and roared continuously. It was as if the gods were pointing at the middle-aged man. Wow! Countless people in the arena stood up when they sensed the terrifying aura. The power of the arrow was so strong that many Saint Realm experts did not dare to take it head-on. You want to kill me? Dream on. The middle-aged man's expression was extremely solemn. His life and death depended on this moment. He had never thought that the outcome would be like this. After all, he had entered the arena with confidence. He had thought that he would be free after killing this young man. However, who would have thought that the young man who looked like a half-Saint Realm expert would have the power to reverse the situation in the blink of an eye? However, he was still an outstanding person in the 3rd heaven of the Saint Realm. Although he was surprised by Lin Ling's strength, he was confident that if he went all out, Lin Ling would not be able to kill him. However, it was a pity that he had underestimated the power of the great calamity destroying Sun Bao. This was one of the 8 divine powers of the dragon tribe. It was protected by the heavenly dragon. Killing demons and destroying gods was a piece of cake for it. Clang! The sound of glass shattering echoed. The countless square mirrors shattered one by one as they were pierced through by the arrow. How is this possible? When the middle-aged man realized this, he cried out in panic. This was because his innate talent could reflect his opponent's attack like a mirror. However, now that the mirrors were shattered, the power of the arrow was too terrifying. At the same time, a huge dragon god's arrow was enlarging in his eyes. I admit defeat. The middle-aged man shouted as the smell of death descended upon him. He had completely forgotten that this was a battle of life and death. How could he admit defeat? Looking at it from another angle, if Lin Ling admitted defeat, would he let Lin Ling go? The answer was obviously no. Therefore, how could Lin Ling let him go? Boom! Under countless gazes, the expert at the 3rd level of the Saint Realm was blasted apart. It was like a lantern being blasted apart. The scene was extremely spectacular. This caused the arena to fall silent for a moment. Then, bloodthirsty cheers rang out. He had shot a 3rd heaven of the Saint Realm. This was obviously the scene that everyone was looking forward to. This is insane. When Lin Ling heard the crazy cheers around him, he shook his head and put away the dragon bow. He turned around and left. Many people were looking at him. Some of them had complicated expressions, some of them were excited, and some of them had killing intent in their eyes. He won. The old man at the edge of the arena had a gloomy expression on his face. Lin Ling had won again. Their arena had lost a huge sum of money again. Most importantly, he had not seen Lin Ling die with his own eyes. Moreover, Lin Ling had broken through to the next realm in front of him. Chapter 3302. Forcing me? Hold it. He hollered and stopped Lin Ling from leaving. You are in the Sage Realm and not the half-step Sage Realm. You have broken the rules. You have to fight 10 more battles in the Sage Realm before you win. The old man said coldly. His words caused the eyes of Sakura Sky and the others to narrow. Lin Ling wanted to continue fighting? What kind of rules were those? What a joke. That middle-aged man was also in the Sage Realm. Why don't you say that he broke the rules? Lin Ling sneered when he heard what the old man said. Furthermore, he was the one who broke the rules first. I only entered the Sage Realm after that. How am I breaking the rules? The rules are as such. Even I can't change them. The old man said expressionlessly. You can only continue fighting. He was clearly trying to twist the rules. That's right. He should continue fighting. What do you guys think? Voices rang out from the side of the arena. It was Lin Hongkai and the others. Naturally, they couldn't stand by and watch Lin Ling show off. The moment the words left their mouths, the arena erupted into an uproar. Many of them weren't targeting Lin Ling. They just wanted to see blood and vent their desires. For example, watching a saint with outstanding talent fall was also something they liked to see. Fight! 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 You have to continue fighting. That's right. I want to help you, but you broke the rules. There's no other way. 10 more battles. Their voices were so loud that it seemed as though they wanted to flip the arena upside down. Many of them had bloodthirsty looks in their eyes. Lin Ling's face turned ugly when he saw what was going on. Wangu Wuji and the others felt the same way. What if I don't fight? Lin Ling barked coldly. Then you won't be able to leave. The old man sneered. Lin Ling was already going against the entire arena. Lin Ling didn't have a choice. Swish! 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 With a wave of his hand, more than a dozen powerhouses in armor appeared at the edge of the arena. Clang! Powerful extreme weapons were also raised, blocking Lin Ling's path of escape. Please return to the arena. At the same time, neat and cold voices floated out. The arena was forcing Lin Ling to go back and fight again. Moreover, all of these experts were at the Saint Realm, and they were extremely formidable. Most importantly, they were only a portion of the experts in the entire gladiator arena. If all of them were to attack, then Lin Ling would have no choice. Are you going to fight or not? The old man laughed sinisterly as if he was in control of Lin Ling's life and death. He was even thinking that as long as Lin Ling was defeated, he would not let Lin Ling die. He wanted Lin Ling to be his slave. This was the result of offending the gladiator arena. However, in the face of the aggressive gladiator arena, Lin Ling could only smile. Forcing Lin Ling? Lin Ling, had grown up in fear. From the Gu Yen sect of the past to the current Yen province, Lin Ling had experienced a lot of oppression. When had he ever been afraid? Clang! Lin Ling also drew his sword directly. With the Tyrant Song sword in hand, it was as if he was going to cut down the world. I'd like to see how the gladiator arena is going to force me. He slashed out with his sword. This sword came from the era of the gods. This was 70% of the demon sword rank. In addition to the fusion of Lin Ling's 4 dantians, the power of this sword was extremely terrifying. Clang! The extreme weapons that collided with it were all cut apart. Moreover, those experts wearing armor had sparks appear on their armor as they were slashed apart by the sword. Following that, their entire bodies were also split in 2. This sword undoubtedly shocked the entire gladiator arena. How dare you kill our people? The old man's eyes narrowed. Their gladiator arena was able to continue operating in the Yen province because of its deep foundation. Over the years, as long as one heard about the background of the gladiator arena, no one dared to behave atrociously here. However, that young man dared to attack. He's crazy. At the edge of the gladiator arena, many people also stood up as if they had seen the most unbelievable thing in their lives. This was because if Lin Ling were to fight, he would still have a chance to live. However, if he were to fight head-on with the gladiator arena, he would definitely die. No matter how strong Lin Ling was, he would definitely not be able to shake the gladiator arena. When you forced me, these people were already dead. Lin Ling's sword did not stop. Bloody light flashed as he continued to slash at those experts who were blocking his way. These experts were only at the early stage of the sage stage. At present, Lin Ling was not afraid of them. Do you know what you're doing? Seeing that Lin Ling was so unscrupulous, the old man roared again. I'm going to kill your people. With the last slash of his sword, all the experts who were blocking his way were killed. You're going to kill my people? Can you kill the entire gladiator arena? Kill him. The old man hadn't expected that Lin Ling would become more and more arrogant, and he roared loudly. In an instant, even more Saint Realm experts attacked, and there were many at the advanced stage of the Saint Realm amongst them. Moreover, Lin Ling couldn't stop them. From this point of view, the strength of the gladiator arena was even more obvious. After all, late-stage stage experts were merely guards. Lin Ling, let me help you. However, Wangu Wuji and the others leaped over and fought alongside Lin Ling. Kill. None of them were weaklings, and they charged back at Huang Xiaolong. Looks of interest appeared on the faces of the people around them. They knew that this group of people was like a bunch of cornered beasts, and they wouldn't be able to walk out of the gladiator arena. As such, they were also admiring the battle between the cornered beasts. Among Lin Ling's group, Wangu Wuji and Lin Ling were the most ferocious. No one could block their attacks. Some people looked at Lin Ling indifferently, and they gradually guessed Lin Ling's background. So he's the son of a devil. No wonder he's acting like this. However, this fellow is really bold. He knows that martial god Wentian is looking for him, but he still dares to appear in the flame state. It's a pity. He shouldn't be so rash. He won't be able to escape from the gladiator arena. Many of the big shots in the flame state muttered to themselves. Kill. Lin Ling's sword was decisive, and every time he slashed out, blood would flow like a river. In fact, he didn't like the people around the gladiator arena, and he didn't hold back when he attacked. Occasionally, he would kill some of the spectators. His actions had infuriated the crowd. You're courting death. Many of the spectators were from the flame state, and they were all nobles. Naturally, they would roar at Huang Xiaolong. If you're not convinced, come and kill me. Lin Ling wanted to fight against the world with his sword alone. After he finished speaking, he took the lead and flew towards Lin Hongkai. That group of people disgusted him the most. It was because of Lin Hongkai's provocative words that they had started to jeer at him. Therefore, he was the first person they wanted to kill. Didn't you guys want to recruit me? Then let me see your strength. Lin Ling held his greatsword at a slanted angle and charged over. How dare you? Lin Hongkai and the others immediately stood up and unleashed their powerful auras. However, Lin Ling's aura was even more terrifying. The world-devouring beast appeared behind him, and its huge mouth opened as if it was going to swallow the world. It's him. More people recognized Lin Ling. As for Lin Hongkai and the others, their expressions changed drastically. He seems to be the son of a devil. Chapter 3303. Creating Havoc in the Arena. Oh God, they had offended the Devil's Son. One had to know that the Devil's Son was arrogant and domineering. He had even dared to destroy gods. Moreover, they also felt extremely ashamed. Before this, they actually tried to recruit the son of the devil. This was simply overestimating their own capabilities. After all, the Devil's Son was a member of the God Extermination Alliance. The God Extermination Alliance was famous in the 9 prefectures. Many people wanted to join it, but it was 10 times harder than the Heavenly Court. Rumble. The giant realm-devouring beast arrived and swallowed many of the experts. Spare me. I was wrong. Devil's Son, I was wrong. I was wrong. Lin Hongkai finally understood that this young man was not someone he could afford to offend. Moreover, he wanted to slap himself in the face. After all, how could Wangu Wuji be an ordinary person if he could be considered a friend? Unfortunately, he had wronged Wangu Wuji. At this moment, Wangu Wuji was shocked as well. He had never expected Lin Ling to be so terrifying when he used his full strength. Moreover, Lin Ling was the Devil's Son. The Devil's Son had always been Wangu Wuji's idol. However, not many people knew about this. Now, this idol was right beside him. Wrong? It's too late to realize your mistake now. The giant realm-devouring beast stopped in front of Lin Hongkai and let out a low growl. Spare me! Spare me! You are a great person. Treat me like a fart and let me go. Moreover, I am one of the Flame Emperor's men. Why do you have to offend him? Lin Hongkai knelt down and begged for mercy. Clearly, he was not afraid of Wangu Wuji. However, he did not have any thoughts of resisting the Devil's Son. The main reason was that the Devil's Son was too famous. Offend the Flame Emperor? The terrifying realm-devouring beast mocked. Lin Ling had already caused havoc in the arena. He had offended the Flame Emperor. Therefore, there was no need to be afraid of offending the Flame Emperor by killing one more person. Die. Without wasting any more time, the giant mouth swallowed Lin Hongkai whole. Seeing the way the realm-swallowing beast swallowed everything, everyone started to tremble. They had heard that the realm-swallowing beast could swallow anything. Now that they had seen it with their own eyes, they realized that the realm-swallowing beast did not live up to its reputation. While they were still in shock, the huge black mouth also came to devour them. Seeing this, although they were terrified, they still fought with their lives on the line. However, their strength wasn't even comparable to Wangu Wuji's, let alone Lin Ling who had just broken through. Black sludge spread out, and the aura of annihilation and destruction was extremely terrifying. Then, the pitch-black darkness engulfed those people. Moreover, they were also resisting with all their might. However, when the attacks entered the darkness, they immediately disappeared without a trace. The world-swallowing beast, one of the 4 most ferocious creatures in the universe, is indeed terrifying. At this moment, the powerhouses around the arena couldn't care less about the pleasure they were feeling. All of them had solemn expressions on their faces. How dare you! In the distance, the elder let out an angry roar. This young man was actually the son of the devil, and he had killed many of the Flame Emperor's men in the arena. This was a situation that had completely severed ties with the Flame Emperor. Of course, he was also extremely shocked in his heart. If he had known that this young man was the son of the devil, he definitely wouldn't have provoked him. However, since he had already provoked him, he had no choice but to bite the bullet. I don't dare. Time-space divine tablet. The huge sludge emitted an ice-cold sound. Immediately, a huge ancient tablet smashed down, smashing a corner of the arena into smithereens. This was truly a huge commotion in the gladiator arena. This was also the first time in thousands of years that something like this had happened in the arena. This fellow. When he saw Lin Ling's crazy actions, Wangu Wuji's heart trembled with fear. Although they were also killing their enemies, they couldn't compare to Lin Ling's battle. Kill them all. However, the arena was a place where powerhouses gathered. More and more powerhouses moved out, and even the spectators around the arena joined the battle. There are too many people, and many of the late-stage Sage Realm experts have yet to make a move. If this continues, we will be in danger. Sakura turned into a white bone giant as he swung his halberd, flipping over a large number of ancient stone chairs. That's right. This arena has a martial ancestor guarding it. Wangu Wuji said with a grave expression. He couldn't understand why Lin Ling was acting so crazily. This is getting more and more troublesome. We have to open an exit and escape. Meng Lu's eyes scanned the surroundings as he decided to retreat. However, at this moment, Lin Ling also flew back. The rolling sludge swam and transformed into a handsome young man. Since we can't escape, we can only continue to fight. Lin Ling stood beside Sakura and the others, and his face also started to turn solemn. Because a large number of experts had appeared in the sky and the surroundings of the arena. All of them were at the Saint Realm, and they formed layers upon layers of experts that seemed like an ocean that surrounded them. Many of them had cold smiles on their faces. It was obvious that although Lin Ling and the others were crazy, they believed that Lin Ling and the others wouldn't be able to escape from the arena. I didn't expect the son of the demon to be here. People of the new heavenly court, listen up. Capture him at all costs. A cold voice resounded as a blue-haired man floated up. His azure blue eyes stared at Lin Ling and the others. This man was the mysterious expert with the eye of the sea god that Lin Ling had met when he first entered the arena. At that time, he had already suspected Lin Ling, but he hadn't confirmed it. Now, everything was confirmed. Kill him and Wentian martial god will reward you greatly. The mysterious man spoke again. He wasn't weak as he was in the late-stage sage realm and possessed the ultimate desolate body. Son of the demon, you won't be able to escape. Seeing this, many people began to shout. Their killing intent was extremely dense. Son of the demon, you killed martial god Qilin. Although you managed to escape temporarily, the new heavenly court won't let you go. It's only been a few years and the new heavenly court has already found you. I can only say that under Wentian martial god's new heavenly court, you won't be able to escape. The mysterious man spoke coldly again. Hearing this, Lin Ling sneered, can you stop farting? If I didn't appear, do you think the new heavenly court would be able to find me? Can your face be any thicker? Die. Lin Ling's words undoubtedly infuriated the mysterious man. His eyes began to change as layers of tsunamis surged in the sky. Finally, they turned into a huge blue ancient monument that suppressed Lin Ling. Son of the demon, let's see where you can escape to. When the blue ancient tablet came crashing down, the entire arena was submerged by the sea. From afar, it was as if the arena had entered a huge bubble. Ultimate desolate body, Wentian martial god's disciple, Golden Crow. Many people recognized the mysterious man as their faces turned solemn. Chapter 3304. Space Distortion. Lin Ling, what should we do? Although Wangu Wuji and the others knew that they wouldn't be able to escape from a fierce battle, they hadn't expected to face the Golden Crow. Now that they had sensed the Golden Crow's strength, they could feel the pressure bearing down on them. They were only 10% confident that they would be able to escape. Are you the only one with a heavenly eye? Lin Ling's eyes blazed with the flames of war as he activated the time-space divine steel to suppress the Golden Crow. The blue ancient tablet descended from the sky, but on top of this ancient tablet, there was another multicolored ancient tablet that followed closely behind. This caused the huge blue ancient tablet to begin to fight against the ancient tablet in the sky. Insignificant tricks. A disdainful smile appeared on the Golden Crow's face. Trying to fight him head-on? Lin Ling doesn't know how he is going to die. Rumble. When the two steels collided, terrifying shockwaves rippled out. Following that, a world of waves and flames appeared and continued to clash. Swoosh. In the next moment, the blue steel was sent flying. It was like an ancient imperial city as it smashed into a corner of the arena. Although it was blocked by a layer of invisible energy, it still caused the entire arena to shake violently. What? The Golden Crow's face changed drastically when he saw this scene. One had to know that he had the 9 great heavenly eyes. Why couldn't it compare to the colorful steel? He furrowed his brows as he tried to figure out what was going on. However, he soon had a guess in his heart. His cultivation realm was higher than Lin Ling's, but Lin Ling was able to send his steel flying. This meant that the steel that Lin Ling had was of an ultimate desolate body as well. Furthermore, it was of a higher grade than his. That was one of the 6 great heavenly eyes. Why aren't you speaking? Weren't you very domineering earlier? Why are you acting like a mute now? Lin Ling spat out coldly when he saw the Golden Crow's silence. The latter's face turned ugly. Although Lin Ling's 6 great heavenly eyes couldn't be underestimated, the Golden Crow had merely underestimated his opponent. When I catch you, I'll tear your mouth apart. The Golden Crow also let out a low growl, and the cold air on its body became even thicker. Make your move. Do you think a few mere ants can overturn the heavens? Meanwhile, another martial progenitor realm expert arrived and stared coldly at Lin Ling and his crew. With this, Lin Ling and the rest's chances of escaping were probably not even 10%. Looks like I won't be able to escape death today. Even Wangu Wuji knew that the situation was hopeless. Dream flow, let's see who has killed more people. Sakura also knew that he couldn't escape, so he was already prepared to fight with his back to the river. Sure, do you think I'm afraid of you? Meng Lu laughed heartily. Since he couldn't escape, he might as well fight. They had all walked out of life and death calamities many times. They had long been accustomed to blood and killing. It wouldn't move them at all. As for Wangu Fengyun and the others, their faces turned deathly pale. When they thought about how they were going to die, their bodies turned soft. Not to mention fighting, they were on the verge of kneeling down and begging for mercy. Don't embarrass the Wangu clan. Wangu Wuji barked coldly. Look at them. Have they ever felt fear? His words caused Wangu Fengyun and the others to look at Sakura and the others. Their fighting spirit burned even brighter. Everyone was in the same situation, but Sakura and the other 2 only wanted to fight. They didn't even think about dying. The difference between the 2 of them was obvious. Everyone, get ready and follow me. Just as everyone was about to fight to the death, Lin Ling's voice rang out in their ears. Wangu Wuji and the others were stunned by what they heard. Since I dared to cause a ruckus in the arena, I must have thought of a way out. Even though I don't know what I'll run into, there's still a ray of hope. Lin Ling said indifferently. The reason why he had gone on a killing spree was because the arena had gone too far. On the other hand, he wasn't completely helpless. Attack! Then, Lin Ling let out a low growl. However, he didn't charge towards the sky. Instead, he charged towards the ground. Sakura and the others were stunned for a moment before they hurried to chase after him. As for the experts in the sky, they were confused at first. However, a cold sneer soon formed on their faces. Did the Devil Sun think that he could escape from their encirclement by running towards the ground? That was a dream. I've heard that when people panic, they will run in a random direction. Now that I've seen it for myself, it seems like it's true. The old man laughed mockingly as he stared at Lin Ling and the others. However, a frown slowly formed on his face. There was something wrong with the direction that Lin Ling and the others were heading in. Moreover, as Lin Ling and the others advanced, the old man's expression changed drastically. Stop them. Without any hesitation, the old man shouted anxiously. Seeing this, everyone frowned, their faces filled with suspicion. At this moment, Lin Ling and the others arrived at a corner of the gladiator arena and appeared on a very ordinary green brick. This kind of green brick was scattered all over the gladiator arena. Generally speaking, no one would pay attention to this kind of green brick, but Lin Ling knew that this green brick hid the gladiator arena's secret. The reason why Lin Ling could sense it was because of the space-time god eye. Under this green brick, he sensed a familiar aura. The 9th god eye. Staring at the green brick beneath his feet, Lin Ling let out a solemn voice. His left hand continued to move, drawing a large number of barriers. These barriers floated above his palm. Then, he heavily slammed down on the green brick. Devil son, you can't. Seeing this, the old man panicked. Too late. Lin Ling sneered as his palm finally landed on the green brick. Gotcha. A crisp sound suddenly rang out. It was like the sound of glass breaking. Everyone was puzzled. What was going on? However, in the next moment, something terrifying happened. The protective barrier at the outermost area of the arena began to shatter. One had to know that this protective barrier was extremely powerful. Previously, when Lin Ling's God Eye and the Golden Crow's Heaven Eye collided, they were unable to break through the protective barrier. From this, one could see how mysterious this protective barrier was. It could be said to be the power of a god. What happened next wasn't over yet. The entire Colosseum began to distort. That's right, it was distorting. It was as if space was being twisted and pulled, and everyone was being pulled. Some of the weaker ones were even pulled to a length of 10 meters before they were completely torn apart. Even the experts at the late stage of the Saint Realm couldn't resist such a great twisting force. What is this? The power of the ninth god, the great distortion of space? Everyone was shocked. There were countless casualties. Go down. At this moment, Lin Ling's expression was extremely solemn. This was because the space around him had also begun to distort, and a huge distorted black hole had appeared under his feet. This made him decide to take a risk and enter the distorted black hole. He was the first one to jump into the black hole. Wangu Wuji and the others were still in a daze. What did Lin Ling do? He actually destroyed the arena. Chapter 3305. The Ninth God's Eye. The black hole continued to twist and distort, causing the bodies of those who tried to chase after Huang Xiaolong to be twisted to death the moment they stepped into the black hole. Furthermore, the black hole quickly disappeared and appeared on the other side of the arena. However, no one dared to enter it now. Could it be that the rumors are true? The experts from the Golden Crow tribe looked at the distorted space around them and suddenly thought of something. A look of fear appeared on their faces. It was rumored that one of the 6 great god eyes was sealed in the arena, the ninth god's eye. The ninth god's eye had been sealed by the experts of the 9 prefectures. Those experts had wanted to use the ninth god's eye for themselves, but the process had failed. As such, they had used the ninth god's eye to protect the arena. Many people had heard of this rumor, but no one had been able to confirm it. However, they were certain of it now. Furthermore, the devil's son seemed to have broken the seal. It's over. It's over. It's over. The old man in the arena slumped weakly into the air. He knew that he was finished. The arena had been destroyed by the devil's son, and those experts would definitely blame him for it. They would definitely kill him. In that instant, the old man felt as though he had aged a lot. His heart was filled with regret. Did he end up in such a state because of his own selfishness? At that moment, the black hole was like a tunnel without an end. Lin Ling and the others quickly passed through it. What terrified them the most was that the space behind them was still twisting. If they were sucked into it, they would definitely die. This kind of energy is too terrifying. Wangu Wuji said with a solemn expression. He had thought that the Wangu clan had already touched the world of gods, and he had already taken half a step into the world of gods. However, after seeing it today, he finally understood how insignificant he was. Hurry up. Big brother, bring that lad along. Lin Ling led the way with a solemn expression on his face. The young man followed behind him, but he was the weakest among them. He was nearly swallowed by the black hole. Lord, don't bother about me. Hurry up and leave. The young man knew that he was a burden, and he shouted at the top of his lungs. I, Lin Ling, have never abandoned my friends. Dream flow, big brother, take them with you. However, Lin Ling shook his head and stopped talking nonsense. He stared ahead and saw that the tunnel ahead was still twisting. It gave people a feeling that if the path ahead disappeared, they would all die here. But now, Lin Ling had no other choice. He could only brace himself and charge forward. He couldn't help but sigh. He also had 6 great god eyes, as did the 9th god eye, but the latter was clearly much stronger than him. Moreover, he recalled that blue-robed youth from long, long ago, Gan Liangping. He had been the first person to guide Lin Ling into the martial god world. Most importantly, that blue-robed youth also possessed 6 great god eyes. Fortunately, the black hole in front of them showed no signs of closing. On the contrary, Lin Ling and the others had finally reached the end. This was a huge space, and the surroundings were like a grid. There were intertwining spatial lines, giving off an extremely mysterious feeling. At the same time, a tall figure quietly stood there with his hands behind his back. He gave off an extremely frightening feeling. This was an old man. His hair was very long, reaching the ground. Moreover, it was pitch black, but it was as sinister as a sea urchin. And he stood there quietly without moving, causing the entire space to become extremely oppressive. The faces of Lin Ling and the others turned cold. They gathered all their strength and prepared for the unexpected. Which one of you broke this seal? The black-haired old man finally slowly turned around, making Lin Ling and the others feel as if they were facing a great enemy. But from the front, this black-haired old man was also very visually impactful. His long robe was like a cloak, revealing the firm muscles of his chest, as if they were carved from stone. He crossed his arms, and his aura was like that of a martial god. The most frightening thing was his eyes. These eyes carried a kind of indifference, as if they could see through the end of time. If Lin Ling had killed several 100 million people in his life, then this old man had probably killed countless people. That pair of eyes was simply too terrifying. This junior is the one who broke the seal. Lin Ling said indifferently as the old man stared at him. His words caused the old man to look at Lin Ling. His eyes were cold and emotionless. Breaking the seal means that I'm free. I've been here for 80,000 years. Sizzle. His words caused Wangu Wuji and the others to suck in a breath of cold air. It was obvious that this old man was an ambitious and ruthless person from the post-gods era. You guys returned my freedom. I should be thanking you. Tell me, what do you want? The black-haired old man said again. Juniors don't want anything. We just want to leave this place. Lin Ling had a feeling that this old man was extremely dangerous. His strength was definitely more monstrous than the Tai old ancestor and the others. Leave this place? That old man smiled, but his smile was very cold. He didn't seem to move, but in the next moment, the space before the youth beside Sakura distorted, forming a black-haired old man. He stretched out one of his hands, and the lame youth's neck was gripped by him. I like to kill from the weak. His cold voice reverberated through the air, and a chill filled the air. You dare? The faces of Lin Ling and the others changed. One had to know that Lin Ling had broken the seal and saved the old man. However, the old man wasn't grateful to them. Instead, he wanted to kill them. What kind of attitude was that? If you want to kill me, you can kill me. As long as Senior releases the Lord. The moment the limping youth was grabbed, he shouted. Compared to Wangu Fengyun and the others, the limping youth wasn't afraid of death. Perhaps, his experience in the arena had caused him to develop an iron heart. Hee. The black-haired old man laughed. His laughter was extremely cruel. You're so weak. What qualifications do you have to talk about conditions? As soon as he finished speaking, he grabbed the youth's neck. Boom. 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 At the same time, Sakura, Meng Lu, Wangu Wuji, and the others released their powerful auras. They were prepared to fight to the death. However, the black-haired old man shook his head. His eyebrows twitched, and his long hair stood on end. He actually controlled the spatial threads in the surrounding space. Then, the spatial threads, which seemed to be able to cut through everything, surrounded Lin Ling and the others. Clang! When Lin Ling saw this, he knew that a huge battle was inevitable. He immediately pulled out the tyrannical song sword. Bloody light, killing intent, and demonic chi flowed around the sword like water. That's the sword demon's sword. Huh! The black-haired old man suddenly exclaimed. He turned around and looked at the sword in Lin Ling's hand. Then, he released the limping youth. Since it's an acquaintance, then forget it. All right. The black-haired old man said indifferently. His words shocked Lin Ling and the others. Chapter 3306. A method to distort the yen state. The black-haired elder looked at Lin Ling and waved his right hand. A corner of the space around them began to shatter, revealing a large patch of mysterious clouds. These clouds were extremely strange. They were like the mist of royal crystals. Most importantly, there were a lot of them. Senior, are you giving these clouds of spiritual energy to us? Lin Ling frowned. This elder's personality was too strange. He wanted to kill them one moment and then help them the next. It felt unreal. Of course. Hearing this, the black-haired elder looked indifferently at Lin Ling and smiled. Little rascal, I have a feeling that you were about to enter the god's realm in the past, but you didn't succeed in the end. However, your potential is very strong. I'm afraid it's above mine. Thank you. Lin Ling was surprised, but he nodded. The black-haired elder had actually sensed that he was Li Xiaoyao's previous self. However, compared to the black-haired elder, Li Xiaoyao was indeed about to enter the god's realm. In the end, when he was at the martial ancestor realm, he was harmed by Tian Liuli and the others. Therefore, even if Li Xiaoyao was at his peak, he might not be a match for the black-haired elder. However, compared to other domains, Li Xiaoyao definitely surpassed the black-haired elder. This was because Li Xiaoyao was known as a genius. He had learned too many domains. It was also because of this that Lin Ling could break the seal that the black-haired elder could not. If not for this, Li Xiaoyao would have spent all his time on cultivation. The black-haired elder would definitely not be a match for Li Xiaoyao. Also, your spacetime god eye has yet to enter the ultimate desolate physique. There's an ultimate mica in the spiritual cloud that can allow your spacetime god eye to enter a new domain. Consider it as me returning the favor to the sword demon. Furthermore, I know you have many questions, but you can ask him yourself. The black-haired elder continued, all right, all of you take care of yourselves. Now, it's time for me to leave. Flame Emperor and those old monsters, I'm here to pay for the torture you gave me in the past. Rumble. The black-haired old man let out a thunderous roar. He opened his arms and forcefully tore open the space, causing the scene of the arena to appear in the sky. At this moment, the arena was still twisting and turning. Then, a murderous figure rushed out and swept across the arena. I'm back. His domineering and unruly voice spread throughout the yen state. As the black-haired old man waved his hands, countless powerhouses were twisted to death. What was even more frightening was that after they were twisted to death, not even a drop of blood could be seen. Instead, the heads and limbs of these martial artists were scattered all over the sky, filling the sky with a horrifying sight. However, the black-haired old man didn't stop his slaughter. With a flip of his hands, the entire arena instantly turned upside down. The most terrifying thing was that even the sky was flipped over, reaching the ground. Oh my God, what kind of person is this? It's too scary. Could he be the ninth god eye? Numerous exclamations of shock resounded in the arena, and the old man that was in charge of watching over the arena had an ashen expression on his face. He truly regretted it. He was extremely regretful. The price he had to pay for humiliating Lin Ling was simply too great. No. However, he didn't have the time to regret it because the twisted space had already reached his body. He could only watch as his limbs were twisted and pulled off, and even his head was being pulled off. However, he didn't feel any pain and could only slowly die. As a result, another head and 4 limbs appeared in the sky. What a powerful person. He actually twisted the yen state. That should be the power of a god, a mysterious energy that surpasses the power of an ancestor. Under the ground, Lin Ling and the others raised their heads to look at the sky. They could see the scene in the arena through the huge black hole. It's the power of a god. However, that black-haired old man is at most a martial ancestor. Why is he able to control the power of a god? Wangu Wuji asked with a frown. That's because the ninth god eye is the most mysterious and strongest of the 6 great god eyes in the universe. Lin Ling explained. Although his space-time god eye was also one of the 6 great god eyes, it couldn't compare to the ninth god eye. You're out. At this moment, a furious roar came from the sky. A powerful force descended and forcefully suppressed the arena, preventing it from rolling over. Flame Emperor, I'm back. The black-haired old man smiled as he looked at the sky. It was a smile filled with battle intent. In the past, you old monsters worked together to seize my eye, but in the end, you were unable to do anything. Now that I've escaped, what can you do to me? Moreover, let me tell you this, my ninth god eye is actually not in my eyes. Ninth god eye, return. The black-haired old man roared at the sky. At this moment, in the eastern region of the myriad of worlds, an unknown world suddenly exploded. Then, a powerful energy seemed to have been summoned and rushed towards the 9 prefectures. This was the ninth god eye. The spatial energy of the ninth god eye was terrifying. It could hide its eyeball in another world through space. You. Hearing the black-haired old man's voice, the person in the sky was enraged. Let me see if your ninth god eye is stronger or if my ancient power is stronger. Unless you're a martial god, no one is allowed to kill me. The 2 experts crazily clashed, causing the Yen province to be bathed in blood and the earth to collapse. This is a true expert. Seeing the battle in the sky through the black hole, Indra and the others were filled with excitement. But at this moment, the black hole began to fuse together, once again transforming into a world of space. Let's start cultivating. Lin Ling suppressed his excitement and looked at the thick cloud of spiritual energy. He knew that this cloud of spiritual energy had been accumulated over countless years. We must become stronger. Indra and the others nodded. This excursion had allowed them to see a stronger world, so they wanted nothing more than to step into a stronger domain. Next, the few of them charged into the spirit energy cloud. These clouds were extremely pure, as if they had been refined by the black-haired old man. But on second thought, this was normal. After being sealed for so many years, he really didn't know what else to do besides play with these things. And to the black-haired old man, this little bit of spiritual energy cloud was simply in existence to fill the gaps between his teeth, so he didn't take it away. But to Lin Ling and the others, this was a huge sum of Emperor crystals. These Emperor crystals are probably enough for me to open my 5th Dantian. After entering the spiritual energy cloud, Lin Ling felt the surging energy entering his body, and he couldn't help but smile. And in the depths of his Dantian, fierce spiritual energy surged in and expanded his 4 Dantians. Lin Ling also activated the Primal Chaos Divine Formula, but for the first time, he found that the refining speed of the Primal Chaos Divine Formula was no faster than the energy entering his Dantian. This feeling was too carefree. Lin Ling had rarely experienced such a carefree feeling since he started learning martial arts. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.